Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first Stockwatch Roundtable of the season of Big Brother 22 All-Stars 2. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and this is the podcast where we talk about everything from the feeds and rate the players based on their gameplay week to week. With me today is Melissa. How you doing, Melissa?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to talk about the first week. Normally, we don't even get feeds at this point, so this is very exciting. It feels kind of like a later week than normal, but yeah, it's been fun.
Yes. Also with me is Brent. How you doing, Brent?
I'm doing excellent. It is nice to be back. I am hoping that we can actually finish the Stockwatch this season on Big Brother. It would be nice. I would like to win one again. I enjoy the way that the Stockwatch has been put together this season, and I am looking forward to triumphing, I must say.
Okay. And now also with us here as a guest to the roundtable is Puya. How you doing, Puya?
I'm doing well, Taran. No, many people might not remember this, but at the end of Big Brother 21, if you looked at that Stockwatch ranking, you are the highest member of the RHAP brand up there. I was the second highest. I beat both Melissa and Brent. So I'm here to just, say hello and then peace out. But I'm fun. I'm happy. I'm excited to talk about everything. Let's go.
Yes.
Beating me is not some great feat, I will say. He's like, I also beat Melissa. It's like, yeah, so did literally everyone else.
Yeah, basically, Puya won a spot on the round table for the week by beating everyone else. Yeah. I split the round table into sort of like two different parts. Hopefully that means that this can be a tighter show, and hopefully that means that we can have more people on the round table from time to time as well. And so we're kind of experimenting with throwing in a guest spot for Puya. We are, still trying to figure out the ramifications of that when it comes to the Stockwatch, but we'll get into that when we get there. For now, though, let's talk about Big Brother 22 and what we have been seeing on the feeds in this game. It's been interesting, very interesting. It's the first week of feeds. We don't usually get this on the feeds, and it's also All-Stars, and there's also pre-game relationships, just actual relationships. There's a lot of people very nervous about, breaking the ice and being the first person to start talking. And we're really seeing a lot of people finally coming together, some alliances finally starting to form as we close out get to the close of week one in the house. Brent, I haven't heard from you in a while. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are that, can the audience never eat well? Can we never eat well? Because I'm so irritated that every freaking season, it seems like the people that the audience writ large, and I realize everybody has their favorites, but I would say like a plurality / majority of the audience are rooting for, these people never seem to do well. There's literally an alliance of the unbecoming untouchables forming in front of our eyes of Christmas and Nicole Franzel and Cody and Tyler and Memphis, people that nobody wanted to see back for the most part. I know some people wanted to see Tyler back, but for the most part, and was anybody clamoring to see Cody again? Was anybody clamoring to see Christmas again? Nicole Franzel? I ask you, all of these people are coming together. Why can they not work with other people that we like?
I think part of it, though, is that the likability factor will drop once you get into a majority alliance like this. For instance, Dani, who I think a lot of people were very excited to see. And I think there are other reasons to be annoyed with Dani than just this, but I think that the fact that she's in a majority alliance, working with these other people, is not helping her cause. And not to mention, we have Bay and Day, who are in pretty good with them as well, who I think are still relatively untouched. But yes, continue.
Let me just say, as a counterpoint to that, if say Davon was the initial head of household and she put up, I don't know, I'm trying to think of somebody she might have put up, like Ian
Janelle and Kaysar?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think she would have done that because she didn't even think they were in danger, for heaven's sake.
Ian,
She would have put up Ian. She would have put up Ian, and who knows? I don't know after that. But I love Ian, but that wouldn't have been the worst thing in the world. That would have been okay, and I would love Davon, and it would have been fabulous. But instead, freaking Cody, has to win HOH at the beginning, and and he's so nice and so genuine, and I'll give him credit for it in the stock watch when it comes to that. But it seems like no one's coming for him. It's just irritating as living fuck, and it really pisses me off. And it's only week 1.
Melissa, how are you feeling the same way?
I am. I'm trying to keep an open mind. I really am trying to keep an open mind going into this because I feel like I always start off immediately being angry, and I'm trying not to do that this time. I'm literally just trying to keep an open mind and be like,
that's okay, Melissa, come with me
and play, and let's all that sort of stuff. But it is frustrating for sure because it does seem like people are acting I don't know. I'm a little frustrated because I feel like a lot of the quote unquote old school people, or not a lot of them, but some of the old school people are trying to pretend like they're not old school and being like, I'm with you guys. I'm with the new guys. I'm with the cool kids. I want to be with
fellow kids.
Yeah, that's exactly what it feels like. It feels like
That's
Enzo and Memphis. It really is. It's like Memphis and Enzo and Dani. It seems to me that they're we're young. We want to be with the young guys. We don't want to be with the old geezers over here. And so they're purposely separating themselves from it. And at the same time, it's I get frustrated because I'm it shouldn't be old school versus new school. It should be everyone working with each other.
No, it's not old school versus new school. It's the young, white, pretty people against everybody else. That's what it seems like this season. Because if you're young and white and pretty.
I wouldn't even say young, though. We've got Memphis and Enzo in there. Come on. I just feel I'm frustrated because it's Memphis is I am not with Keesha. I am not with Janelle and Kaysar. Those old guys, no way. And it's frustrating because it's you're one of them. You're not one of the young guys. It's see what's going on here. You are gonna end up getting picked off. At least that's the way I see it. And I've been trying to think this through as obviously this would never be relevant, but if I were on an all-star season, how would I handle, if I was one of the newer players, but on an all-star season with these legends, how would I handle that? Because it's you can't just, you can't give it a Paul situation where you're oh, he's Paul. He's, he's an all-star. He's a great, and I'm this new person. I just want to work with him and do whatever he says, or a Boston Rob type situation. I wouldn't want that to be the case. So my plan would be is to garner favorability with the fans by working with Janelle and Kaysar, and immediately right off the bat, I'm going to work with these guys. And then maybe halfway through, if we make it there, let them get picked off, but not by me. And then say, this is revenge. Everything I do from this point on is revenge for Janelle and Kaysar. The fans are oh my God, she's revenging their honor. She's doing this for them. All these moves where she's being, deceptive to all these other people we like. It doesn't matter because she's doing it for our favorites. And that's what I've been thinking about.
I see you also fantasize about playing the game and
Oh,
it
yes.
going extraordinarily well for you in
It's
unrealistic
crazy.
ways.
Every single time I win. So it's very odd.
Yeah. Oh boy, a new season with Brent ranting about the underdogs, Melissa being frustrated. Puya, what do you got for me?
I hear the sadness. I hear the anger in your voices. And yes, you either are Dan or you live long enough to become the Jerry, who is literally Memphis now. But, I don't know if it's the part of me that was I didn't think we were going to get anything this summer. And then now we got it. And now there's we got week 1, we've been eating. I don't know. I'm not stuffed, right? I'm not full, but I'm eating. So that's good. I'm liking that. It's week 1. I'm trying to convince myself that, hey, you never know what's going to happen. I have one person who I never expected to see, who represents where I come from, my background in Kaysar. And the kiss of death was looking crazy this week. That's gone now, for now. It's not looking amazing still. But I'm just trying to be hey, listen, here's the meal. You got to hear the buffet closes at 9. It's 8:50. I'm trying to keep eating. That's what I'm gonna try to do, and I'm gonna try to enjoy it. I'm gonna try and keep it, keep it on the up and up. But Brent, I don't want to take it away from you. There are parts of this that are looking a little bit yikes.
So let me ask you this, Puya.
Hit me.
So the reason I brought up the thing about the white young pretty people is because my friend Cass, who's like BB Updoots or Uproots, I forget her Twitter handle on Twitter.
I think it's Doots.
Is it Deuce? Okay, I had it right. She was like, hey, idiots! Like, if you don't know what you're doing, you might want to notice that the young, white, straight, pretty people are all working together. And it does seem, for the most part, that that's what's happened. Like, if you see somebody like Cody, you see somebody like Tyler, they're probably working together. They're probably working with the old guy in Memphis. They're probably working with, like, Enzo, who's like a guy's guy. Like, it frustrates me that, and then you have like the people that they don't want to work with, or then they give like the thing that's really irritating me about the house guests referring to Bayleigh and Davon is that they give them like lip service, like, oh yeah, I want to work with them, but they never include them in any of their plans. Like, it's just like, it's almost like they're doing it for show. So like I'll like people like Kevin and Nicole Anthony and Ian and Davon and Bayleigh and Kaysar, all on the outside, all with no agency in the game, doing what everybody else tells them. Even somebody like David, who's, I suppose, arguably included in some of their plans, is not taken seriously, although that is maybe by his own doing more than anything else. Like, it's just, I just want one season where, like, and I take your point, Taran, like, if somebody on quote unquote my side of things had won HOH and had been doing something, what would I feel about them? I feel like it would be different. I really do. And Dani has been irritating me, but not as nearly as much as everybody else on the board who is, I'm like, why are you back? And I didn't ask for you. Why are you here?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to just like also appreciate the difference between this year and last year, and some of the stuff that we're seeing on the feeds, and some of the intelligent conversations that we're seeing on the feeds, and like the worst stuff that we're seeing on the feeds now, still bad. We should still talk about it, but it's nowhere near what we're used to. I think that we are definitely multiple steps forward in terms of just like the people, certainly in terms of the gameplay, and I'm very, very excited to get into it all on the roundtable. So let's go through, let's just kind of catch you guys up a little bit here on what's been happening. Obviously, Cody won the first HOH. He put up Kaysar he went to go put up Kaysar and Janelle. But Kaysar came in and said, no, it's me and Janelle. We're safe. He won the safety competition. Janelle's currently in a star costume, the Mario star, as Rob put it. Kevin and Keesha ended up on the block, with Keesha pretty much as the target. Enzo won the veto, did not use it, and as of right now, it's looking like Keesha should be going home in this current vote. She doesn't really have anybody on her side except for Janelle and Kaysar, who are not making much progress, Puya.
Yeah, bless Janelle's heart. Janelle's trying. But at the same time, it's not looking great. I think Keisha's not been doing much either from that position. I know that the conversation going on is that, I've heard you talk about it a lot, Taran, where it's like, well, Keisha's in an unfortunate situation where she's on the block. It's hard week one. She can't like exactly go full razzle dazzle. She's very collected. Kevin, you can see Kevin's very paranoid. Kevin's very worried and everything. But I just feel like Keisha's just been on snooze from the beginning. And unless she survives, she can't get turned back on. And unfortunately, snooze is not where you want to be. I think everybody, for the most part, was like, I want to see where the house is going. And slowly but surely, everyone's kind of nudged that they have a direction they want to go and they have an agenda they want to complete. Even though no one's verbalizing exactly what they want to do, it's donezo. And I don't think Keisha's got what it takes to turn it around, not just from a social capital perspective right now, but also from are my allies willing to use their capital? And the ones that are trying, there's no one there to collect that capital. So there's just going nowhere. It's unfortunate. But
yeah, I think it's really tricky this week because I feel like nobody is willing to stick their neck out and just say what they want to do. Like everybody's like saying like, well, I'm not really sure. I'm not really hearing anything. Like, I kind of want to see what's out there. And, I'm leaning towards Kevin, but I really like Keesha. It's like nobody will actually say like, hey, this is what I want to do. And because nobody's doing it, no one wants to be the first one to say it, because then everyone points fingers like, well, you said you wanted Kevin. So it's got to be really hard for Keesha, but I do feel like she seems to think, or at least she did seem to think, that she had Memphis. And it's like, but if you don't have those conversations and get that guarantee, like, you don't have that person. And even though it makes complete sense for Memphis to want to keep you, because that's a simple, like, we were on the same season, like we could work together, even if it's like a secret working together, like that's a connection there. Like, Memphis is clearly like gone crazy and doesn't think that that's something he should use. And he thinks that for some reason she still has like a vendetta against him. I mean, you can tell I'm annoyed with Memphis right now. And I'm honestly very much regretting my entire draft. If I could do it over again, I would change.
Not regretting my draft, because I picked Kaysar.
I know. Well, like, here, oh God, I keep thinking about like how I wish I had picked like Bayleigh. I wish I had picked Janelle, just because I'm like, you know what? I want to be able to root for the people that I would love for Janelle to do well. And I would love to like cheer her on. So I should have just like had that faith and picked her. And then I probably would pick like, no, I was going to say Davon, but I'm a little iffy on her reads right now. Gosh, that's tough.
All right, well, we're not doing round 2 of the drafts.
What? No, I need another chance. Please give me another chance.
Yeah, it's really frustrating watching this whole week. I agree with a couple of assessments. Number one, that it does feel like for a lot of the house guests that nobody is really talking game, but of course we know that they are talking game. If you think that nobody's talking game, that means that other people are talking game around you and they just aren't including you. And most of these people are all-stars, are veteran players, and they should know that, and then they should suspect that. I will also say that Keisha's like, she's honestly like a scrapbook where you look back at it and you're like, oh, wasn't that great? Like, those are good times back then. And then like you take a closer look at the picture and it's just not very good. Like, I'm really going to come for her in the stock watch, but oh my God, I've never been so disappointed in a player. Like, I of the people, I think Twitter went off the hardest when they saw that Keesha was going to come back on to Big Brother All-Stars this season. It was like, oh my God, finally they're going to right the wrong that they never brought back people besides Dan from Big Brother 10, and we're going to get it. We're going to get Keesha on the show, and we're getting Memphis to boot. Are you kidding me? And then like, we don't really like Memphis, and Keesha is terrible. Like, let's just leave them in the past where they belong.
Yeah, I mean, I'll stick up for Keesha. I think I've kind of been doing that. I feel like being put in this spot is really rough. Like, no, I don't think she's handling it well. I don't think she's playing it well. I don't think she's campaigning well. I think Kevin is doing much better. I think one of the, like, there are a couple of things going on here. The vote between Keesha and Kevin, even if Keesha was campaigning well, even if Memphis was with Janelle and Kaysar, even if they did manage to rally some votes, they still don't have the numbers. Cody's side has the numbers, and so Keisha's kind of screwed regardless. But she could be doing more, and it's frustrating not to see her doing more. And the reason she seems so far behind is because a lot of those potential swing votes, a lot of those votes that could be picked up that are not Cody votes, have already been picked up by Kevin. He was doing great work building those relationships even before he got put on the block, and that's now coming in handy now that he's on the block, because once you're on the block, there's like a barrier to building relationships. There's a thing that just gets in the way. There's a power imbalance, the fact that you're just kind of desperate, and you know that they know that you want something from them. So basically, Kevin and Keisha's relationships were frozen in place the minute they were nominated. and Kevin had done a lot better at getting to the people that mattered. And I don't think he was doing that intentionally, but people like Nicole Anthony, Davon, even a little bit like David. I mean, he was in the have not room with Ian as well. Like that was a stroke of luck for Kevin because he got along with those people, he fit in with those people, and they were very, very key votes for him. And it's almost impossible for Keesha to pick up those votes because Kevin already has them. So that's sort of where Keesha is right now. And I don't think that this, for me, tarnishes Keesha's legacy in any significant way. I never saw her as like a super adaptable, like can get out of any situation kind of player. I saw her as a player that was like a very brute force, strong player who, like, once she got her hooks in, was like not gonna let you go. And unfortunately, she never got a chance to get her hooks in here, and it's really killing her. And I think it's a great example of, you know, players being great in certain circumstances and having no idea what to do in other circumstances, which is the factor of luck.
Yeah, I also think that the thing that you said, I think it was on an update maybe yesterday, where you were talking about the fact that Keesha, in some ways, is a little scared. She's scared to do something because she doesn't know, like, am I safe or am I not? Because if I'm safe, I don't want to be the idiot that goes around and does something in campaigns and changes people's mind into flipping back to saving Kevin. Like, am I actually safe right now? And I just don't know it. But on the other hand, I have to say, if I was a house guest in the house, I would always like never let a pitch go past. You know, you always want to take the swing. I feel like if you are somebody who's playing in the game, if you don't feel a certain way, if you take the swing and you campaign, and then that's what gets you out, you know, you took your shot and you didn't make it. But I don't think I could ever live with myself if I knew that I might be in danger and I did nothing to change my fate.
Rob Sesternino in the chat's chiming in here. He says, only your first time on these shows counts. I didn't even make that connection initially, but it's totally true of Rob Sesternino as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
down to the pre-gaming kind of screwing you over a bit.
Yeah, that's very true about that. Yeah.
I will say, given her, you know, I was the one fortunate enough to get to talk about Keesha on the Hypothetically Speaking series. I was so stoked. Right. And in rewatching her greatness in preparation, I mean, we talk about this is a different environment for her to be in. Her first environment that she thrived in, there was no nice. It was explosion from day one, from week one, and that she rode the explosion. She thrived in that situation. She was not like scared to, you know, stand up and talk. She was not scared to challenge someone, and she did it all. This house is playing what Tony said in game nice. Everyone's doing nice. And like, no one's willing to do too much. Everyone, even the back talking is very in the shadows, very quiet, calculated. So she can't do anything in this environment because this is not the environment for someone like a Keesha to thrive in. She has no way to do it outside of someone. You know how Cody was talking about, I wish, you know, someone had said something to me, so I'd put them up. If someone had said anything to Keesha this week, I think she could make a mountain out of it. But without that, she doesn't have the tools needed to build the environment that she could do the best in. And this is uncharted territory for her.
You ready for this? You ready for this? Keesha is she's the British, and she's got a great army. She knows how to face on armies, you know, on the field, in the open. And this house is America. And we're cheating. We're doing guerrilla style warfare, and we're sniping them from the bushes.
That's what it feels like, right?
And she doesn't know how to deal with it. She's like, I've got all this ammunition, but I don't know where to shoot.
That's it, honestly, Puya. I got roped into some random Big Brother game last night that I was playing with some friends, where like they just like put it, you know, they determine HOH and POV by like a randomizer. Okay. I was a little like, I knew most of the people who were playing, but I didn't know anything about the dynamics of the people of the current structure of that quote unquote house. And then finally, at one point, this girl, Allie, put me up on the block. And I was like, thank the Lord, because now I know what to do, where to aim my gun, what to go about, and how to play my game. But up until then, I was like, I don't really know, like, because I don't want to piss anybody off. I feel like if Keesha just had that one person who said something or did something to her, she could like come for Cody or do something or get votes behind her, where people would talk about, oh, I really want to keep Keesha in the house. She's got the fire in her. Like, let's get out the sneaky guy and Kevin. But it's just not there. And Kevin has a lot more empathy with connecting with the other house guests in terms of them wanting to keep her or him. And also Keesha, she is one of the straight young white pretty people, but for some reason some people see her as more with the Codys and Tylers of the world, and they don't want to keep her because of it. They want to keep the more offbeat guy and Kevin. So it's a mess, Taran.
Yes. All right. Let's talk about the state of the house. We've got a few different alliances. Really, the only solidified like alliances are there's like 3 of them. There's I think what is probably the most main one, and that is Cody, Dani, Franzel, and Enzo. I'm calling Nicole Franzel. I'm calling Nicole Anthony Nicole. So Franzel is Nicole Franzel. And it's Cody, Dani, Franzel, and Enzo. They are a 4. Now, these are very fragile at the start. You can make an alliance, but unless you like check in multiple times, it's not always solidified. So this one had been solidified one day, and it hasn't really been re-solidified as all 4 of them in a couple of days. But I still expect it to be pretty solid, mostly because of the individual relationships inside of it. Cody is super tight with Enzo, basically as the final 2 of them. You have Franzel and Dani who are friends. Cody and Dani are like getting really close, and even Enzo and Dani have like a close relationship or a talk game enough that this is a pretty tight 4. I expect this to be the 4 that really makes a run for the game. They are at the center of a lot of wider sort of circling outward, spiraling onion layers of alliance. So, Melissa, how do you feel about this?
I mean, it's good for them, I guess. It's not super fun for me, but you know, I think that like it seems to be like a very tight-knit group. I mean, you definitely see a relationship between Dani and Nicole Franzel, and then you see definitely a relationship between Cody and Nicole. And I think that the two of Cody and Nicole are doing a really good job of, or at least I don't know if necessarily Nicole is like, I don't know if anyone believes anything Nicole says, but I think that Cody is doing especially a really good job of it, because he's kind of just like testing the waters with people, being like, look, like, I really don't know like what Nicole thinks of me. I know I really like messed up on my season when it came to her. Like I didn't treat her well or whatever, like game wise, you know, I kind of just like screwed her. So I'm a little worried about her. Who knows? Have you heard anything? And then people always tell him, no, she seems like she likes you. Like there's nothing there. And he goes, okay, good. Well, you know, good to hear. And so I just think he's doing a really good job of like making it seem like they're not as close as they are when they clearly are super close. And you'd think that anybody would be able to see that. But I do think that there's, you know, a good pairing there. I feel like Enzo is kind of like the odd person out there. I don't feel like he has a super close connection to any of the 3 as individuals, maybe Cody, but not even that as much, I feel. Whereas Dani and Nicole, I think they're super close. And I think they're doing a good job of like kind of distancing themselves a little bit, even though people are like, well, they're friends, but you know, people aren't really putting 2 and 2 together as much as I would have thought. So, you know, I do think it's a good core 4 for them. Don't love it for me, but you know, it'll be good to watch.
Yeah, I mean, Enzo is very much in the Enzo spot, right? In that 4, where
Yeah.
it's like he is helping keep the group together. He's great glue, and he's great to bounce things off of. He's got great energy. He blends in with the rest of the house. Enzo is literally in the backyard talking about how in his season they used to say things like, "That's a brigade of bananas over there." And people didn't even notice. They were so stupid. And he's saying this to them while being in 2 different brigades this season. So if they were just a little bit smart, you'd think that they would start to catch on a little bit, but we'll see.
I was really hoping to see Enzo do a different strategy this time.
Ha!
Like, I really was hoping that like it was going to be a different game.
He is way too proud of the brigade to do something different.
I mean, here's the thing: is it works? It's a good strategy. We've seen it now work twice, you know, with the literally exact strategy. And we've seen, you know, variations on it. So I really honestly, like, I get why he's doing it again, but it's a little boring.
It's his comfort level. That's where his comfort is, Melissa. Like so many of these house guests, they say they have big plans about what they are going to do, but when they go back into the Big Brother house, they so often just fall back into their old ways of doing things, old people that they connect with. Like it's just, I guess when you get put in a situation like that where the pressure is high and you're looking for something, a life preserver, to grab a life preserver. Is that it? Yeah, I guess it is. Life preserver to grab onto. Like you just reach out for something like that and you go back to your old ways. And it's frustrating as you know what for us to watch. I wanted to see Enzo come back and like, wouldn't that be cool if like Enzo hooked up with like, you know, I don't know, like Davon and Ian or something. That would be so cool. Like if they hooked up together. I know, like, but you know, and who knows? Like it's week 1. So like we say like, oh, he's doing the same thing again. And yeah, he kind of is. But like there are 2 women in this quote unquote brigade of 4. So that's good. And 2, like it's week 1. So let's see what happens. Like we need a lucky HOH in week 2. We need like a Jen Johnson HOH for week 2.
Janelle. I mean, Janelle's a great example
I know, right?
of the exact kind of HOH we need.
We need this, and if we can get it, but it's gonna be tough, let me tell you. But if we can get it, then I feel like that a lot of things can break open. But if not, then I feel like the nominations for week 2 are probably pretty predictable.
It's interesting to me because you know, I talked about alliance structure in an off-season podcast, and the brigade really solidified a very strong strategy, a dominant strategy for alliance structure. And Enzo was a big part of that. And he is now working with Cody, who was a very big part of the evolution of the brigade format. And it kind of feels like this might be the next evolution of this form, where the bomb squad / detonator / hitman was like a big alliance with onion layers. What they have set up right now is more like 2 separate cores with layers with like an outer layer surrounding it, which almost feels like it could be more stable and a little easier to manage. And this might be truly the next evolution of this form of strategy. The other core that I'm talking about, the second brigade, is Cody, Enzo, Bayleigh, and Davon. We talked about this. It might have been this morning. It might have been yesterday. They're blending together. But Bayleigh and Davon are up in the HOH room with Cody and Enzo. And Bayleigh is basically just like describing the brigade to Enzo as like, we should do the brigade. We should have each have like a connection, and then we can keep each other safe. And then like through our connections, we'll have the votes to send home the person who's connected to the person. And it's like, yeah, that's what they did. That's what they're doing. That's what you're doing. And so this is a second brigade. Now again, this was, you know, it was confirmed a couple of times. But and this one is a little fresher than the Dani Franzel one. But it has also not been sort of like re-solidified yet. I think that part of what Cody is doing here with these multiple alliances, on top of just wanting to help build, you know, out this structure, is that if something goes wrong and say Janelle wins HOH and decides to target Franzel or something like that, then that will, I think, help him decide which group he is like super solid with. Or let's say Bayleigh or Davon win an HOH. Now that's the 4. The second week HOH, I think, is going to be very crucial in determining how this overall structure really solidifies here, Melissa.
Yeah, I don't mean to jump in, but like I really agree with that, because I go back to what we said earlier about the fact that so many of the house guests feel like that nobody's playing the game right now. So until we get a new HOH and a shot is taken at somebody else in the house where they feel like that more agency of the house is being encroached upon by somebody who is in power, then the game isn't going to start. So a week 2 HOH is really, really important. I would also like to tell people in the chat who are trying to manifest a Kaysar HOH or a Janelle HOH, that's all well and good, but I'm not even sure that they would put up the people that we would want. I think that it's more likely that they would get some wackadoodle nominations like freaking
Franzel
David
and David.
or David and Christmas or something like people like we're not going to get Franzel and Cody. Cody is too well liked, too well known in the house. He just has a genial way with people where they're just not going to put him up right now, even though like he blew past everybody in that HOH competition with 22 flipping seconds, and they still are like, oh no, I'll keep him around.
And he got screwed by this twist where like it was basically exposed that he was gonna put up Janelle and Kaysar, where like normally they just would have gone up, but now they're safe and know that they were going to go up from him, and still the power of this structure and the first HOH and what they've put together seems to be holding, which is very interesting to me. There is now also an outer layer to those core 2 groups, and that is the Memphis crew that he's trying to put together. He's thinking about naming it the usual suspects or the unusual suspects, although Christmas is now very set on wanting to call it the incinerators, which doesn't make as much sense according to the theme, but that's fine. Memphis's idea is, I'm going to put together a group of people, and we're never really gonna like get in a room together. We're just gonna, just play telephone the whole time, and like it's a bunch of people there. Like, they can handle themselves socially, and so we don't need to like reassure each other all the time. So that's why we're including Franzel, because she's so confident in her own abilities, and
she's a winner. Did you know that? She's a winner.
Is?
Oh my God.
And so Memphis's crew is himself, Cody, Dani, Tyler, Franzel, and Christmas. Now, it originally intended to have Bayleigh, but when Memphis went to Dani, she said, you can't have Dani without you can't have Bayleigh without Davon. And so he said, okay, scratch that then. What about Nicole? Which Nicole? The little one. Which little one? The blonde one. That one. Oh, perfect. I'm friends with her in real life. I mean, I don't really talk to her much, but it sounds like a good idea to me. So that group has come together. Memphis approached each of them, and in a weird way, this is one of the more solidified alliances now, even more so than these other 4s, because Memphis has talked about it so much, and it's the most recent thing. Now, a decent amount of people in this alliance are not super sold on it, including Tyler, who has expressed a lot of doubt. I still have no idea where his head is at, by the way, but we'll get to that. Christmas was initially doubting it as well, but she had a talk with Cody today that seemed to like lock it in a little bit. She felt a little better with Cody. She feels a little sketchy on Dani, but they're probably going to help fix that. But this is sort of like, if you looked at, again, the bomb squad was like a bunch of circles. There's one big circle and a smaller circle inside of it, smaller circle inside of that. This is like 2 circles with a Venn diagram in the middle of Cody and Enzo, with an outer circle surrounding them both of the Menzo crew. I keep doing that. The Menzo.
I like Menzo.
The Memphis crew. It's a lot of name mix-ups this season.
Yeah.
So that's really the sort of structure of this main power alliance right now. And so the people that are really on the outs of this, there's David is kind of like, they want to kind of work with him. He's got this connection to Tyler, which is great. But Cody kind of sees him as, I'll put him up on the block as a pawn because he's not going to be super mad at me. So not a great spot for David. Then you have like Nicole Anthony, who is not connected to this crew at all, really, except for maybe through like Davon. Then you have, like Kevin, who is connected to Cody because Cody's telling me he's going to keep him. But beyond that, not much. Maybe again, Davon. You have Ian, who is connected to Franzel, but outside of that, not much there. And then of course you have Janelle and Kaysar, who are just, Janelle has a connection to Bayleigh, but not a whole lot beyond that. She's connected to Dani, but Dani's like really not with her. And then you have Kaysar, who's just completely not connected to this group. And that's basically where we're at, Melissa.
I have literally no idea why people don't want to work with Janelle and Kaysar. Like, I totally don't understand it. And it's interesting to me because it does seem like a lot of people are saying like, oh, I'm scared to talk to Janelle. She's intimidating, or like saying stuff like that. And it's like, what are you talking about? Janelle is literally like trying to be nice and have these like nice conversations with people and like tell people things and reveal stuff. And then like either they just leave the conversation like, yeah, I couldn't talk to her. I couldn't figure it out. Or they like leave the conversation and then just go like rat her out and talk to other people about what she just said. And it's like, why does no one want to work with Janelle? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, Janelle is also like, I do feel like Janelle also has a reputation of being like loyal to her team.
I'm sorry,
ridiculously
but even Nicole
so.
Anthony is doing this. She's having a conversation with Janelle, and Janelle's like, look at past history. That is indicative of future performance. And I was like, yes, you're totally right. Kevin will float. Keesha will be loyal. And then Nicole Anthony was just like, I'm just really worried that you're gonna like stab me in the back, Janelle. You're gonna be like running to other people that I'm being tricked right now. And Janelle's like, no, that's not me. Like, I don't play that way. Have you seen my seasons?
Then
Sorry,
Nicole immediately does that. Nicole like immediately rats her out. Like, it makes me so angry. Like, especially because Nicole's sitting there during that conversation being like, please don't tell anyone like this stuff that I'm talking to you about. And Janelle's like, yeah, don't tell anyone that I'm telling you. And then it's like, Nicole's like, okay, cool. Now I'm going to immediately tell people. Like, it's very frustrating to see. And like, same with Kaysar. It's like, people are like, yeah, I just feel like Kaysar is just there for himself. Like that he doesn't want to play with anyone. And it's like, what is going on here? Like, I don't understand why people are trying to go work with like people who have turned on their allies. I mean, like Nicole Franzel or like Dani or anyone like that, like who've turned on their allies when they literally have people who to a fault will work with their allies, Kaysar and Janelle.
Yes.
Like, that is like the exact kind of person I'd want to work with. It's just, I don't understand the logic behind it. Like, maybe it's that like they're just intimidated by them because they know that they're like legendary players and that they're like, I mean, they're so cool. Like Janelle, like she's so cool. Kaysar, he's so cool. Like if I were to talk with them, maybe I would feel intimidated. Maybe I would feel like I couldn't like totally open up to them because like I'm just like intimidated. But I mean,
that's
it just doesn't make sense to me.
That's what they said to Kaysar. She said, man, you're intimidating. you intimidate
But does that matter? Like, I mean, I guess
like
it matters in some ways.
Would like, yeah, like as a game, like you think that they'd be like, look, like maybe, yeah, exactly. It's like, maybe it's like first week, like, or maybe first couple of days, you're kind of like, okay, like, I don't know what to do, but that wouldn't preclude me from working with somebody just because like, I'm not intimidated by talking to Nicole, one of the Nicoles or something. Like that would mean that I'd work with them over work with like Janelle and Kaysar. Like, no, like, I don't know.
I have a theory. Okay. So my theory is this, that the reason that a lot of people don't want to pick up Janelle and Kaysar right now, even though they know they're loyal, that they're bigger targets and that they will go down with the ship. Like they're not sneaky. They're out in front. You know exactly what they're doing. They're not going to blindside you. You're going to know it's coming. They're the perfect kind of allies to work with. Meanwhile, on the other side, you have people like Nicole Franzel, who's the worst kind of ally to have, but they won't work with Kaysar and Janelle because they're scared, because they know that right now, Kaysar and Janelle are the next two people out of the house, okay? And they are scared to death. They're like, well, I know next week it's probably going to be Kaysar and Janelle. That'll give me... It's the same thing that happened on Survivor All-Stars the first time around, where people were just like, you know, they didn't want to make a move. They didn't want to upset anything. They're scared to play because they're scared to make a mistake. Until something breaks open, Melissa, this is the dichotomy of the house, and we're just going to have to live with it.
Yeah. I mean, it's also frustrating to me, though, that like, even if you're too afraid to like outwardly, like out front, be like, I'm working with Janelle and Kaysar, like these are my guys, you'd think that you'd at least try and keep them like as an open line of communication, like as like I'm interested in working with you or whatever, rather than just immediately go spew everything that they just said to somebody else and like and make them look even worse. I just feel like it doesn't make sense to me why you would do that. Like wait and see what happens next week. Maybe they win HOH. Like, I mean, maybe things change. I just feel like it's odd to me that at this point in time, when they're not on the block and they're not in danger, like why you would try and like increase an already very large target versus like try and put yourself in a good position. Like it.
You're the most frustrated with Nicole Anthony right now, right?
I'm
like,
very frustrated.
Yeah, Nicole Anthony is like the example of what we're talking about. I do think there are plenty of people, maybe minus Day as well, who is just very open to Kaysar about like not wanting to work with him, basically. But other than that, I do think that you do have like Dani, who's basically keeping an eye on them. Bayleigh, who I think is keeping her options open. Even somebody like Tyler has been working on his relationship with Janelle and Kaysar. Unfortunately, in that situation, it's Kaysar and Janelle who don't trust Tyler because they think he's really with Cody, which I'm actually really starting to doubt that he actually wants to work with Cody and Dani.
I'm actually starting to doubt whether Cody wants to work with Tyler.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that I'm sure about.
Yeah. Okay.
I think Bayleigh and Tyler are playing it right. Like, I think that there are other people in the house who are not playing it right. And I think that I am very impressed with the way Bayleigh is playing right now. I think she is keeping her options open. I think people are interested in working with her. And I don't think she's shutting any doors and like slamming them in their faces. Like, I think that I'm very impressed with her. And I, like anything I said pregame that was like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if she can handle herself in this like all-stars cast. Like, I take it back. I think she's great. She's playing like Bayleigh was at the start of the season on her season when we were so impressed with her. We just have to hope that train doesn't fall off the rails.
Puya, for real. Like, do you feel like I'm right? Do you feel like that? Are there people in this cast that are afraid to play? Like, they're happy that Kaysar and Janelle are the current targets, and they don't want to think any far beyond that.
I think you nailed it on the head with that point. I think there's like 4 reasons probably why this is happening. One is the one you mentioned. They're too scared. This is 2 guaranteed people in front of them. That gives them 2 more weeks of gameplay, 2 more weeks to do other stuff, to plan stuff, to like come out of their shell. As long as they can delay that, they're fine with that. So that's one. The other one is the reputation they come in. Melissa touched on this. They're coming in. They're the 2 legends. They're the 2 people that were on the last All-Star season. So you can also see it as they've already been All-Stars. This is our chance kind of thing. We don't want them to eclipse us. That's one. The other thing is their last time they were in a house together, they dominated the early go-around. The first 2-3 weeks was all them, all their team. So even though logistically you look at that and you're like, hey, these are 2 people that have had good control over the house before. They've proven to be good competitors, worthy competitors. I should work with them. What they fail to see is that aspect. What they see is they cost these 3 people to leave early, or they cost these 3 people a spot. So now they're scared. But what they're not realizing is if I look at it from a perspective of as their allies, I'm protected. That's a good thing. But the whole scared thing that's why this next HOH is very important to the makeup of the house, very important to the makeup of the narrative, because should a Kaysar or a Janelle win, yes, we're talking about they might botch the nominations, but that's the only way where some of these people will have to commit on what they're doing and will have to turn on their conversations with them and not kind of do this shaky, I'm just talking to them and then I'm walking away and just selling it out and doing whatever I want. It's a very unfortunate place for the 2 of them to be in. This is why I was worried when they both were put in this cast. I was like, this is something that's going to alienate them from people, and it surely has. So what we can hope for is that they don't just get a chance to pick the both of them off right away, and we get to see them do something, because my God, if I'm rooting for underdogs every season, this is like the best underdog team to root for, and I do not want to say goodbye to them before September starts.
Yeah. All right. Are you guys ready for the stock watch? Should we start to rate these players?
Yes, I am ready.
Yes. He's already ready with this one.
All right. So here is the chart. If you're watching the video, we've got the chart up here. So we have Puya here. Puya is going to comment as the audience. He's going to comment on the audience rating and let us know how much he agrees or disagrees by giving his own opinion in contrast with the audience rating. And then Puya, I want you to interpret what the audience means.
Okay. I'll play the role of audience. So whatever they rate, I will be passionate and I will sell you that I rated them that way.
Yes.
And then agree, disagree. I got you.
Okay.
It.
Truly the face of the audience. All right. It's a good one. It's a good face. It's a good beard.
Thank you, Taran.
No. All right. So let's go ahead and get into this. So what we do here is every single week we look at all of the players and we give them a rating from 1 to 10 based on how well they're playing the game, how well they're positioned, how likely they are to win. It's a complicated formula that we use to judge their gameplay every single week. Basically 1 is terrible player, bottom tier, 0 chance to win the game, has done a terrible job this week. 10 is, this is Dan Giesling on any season that he played except for maybe week 1 of season 10, and he's doing his thing, and he's like he's got this, right? And 5 is just like average, doing fine, whatever. So that's how we rate them. We then take the ratings and we formulate them. I poll the audience on the ratings for the players. You guys give your opinion on how well these players are doing. We calculate it all into one average rating, and then we use that to determine a price that will be used in the Stockwatch game. So if you're interested in playing this, you can go to realitystockwatch.com, and I can quickly run back over here and give you a little example of what this looks like if you're watching the video at home. This is realitystockwatch.com. This is the leaderboard. This is currently showing the end of Big Brother Canada 8, where we unfortunately had to cut it short a little bit. But if you go to this site and you create an account or you log in, then you will be able to buy and sell shares of a player each week and try to make a profit based on how well you think they're doing. So you can look at things like the projections of like where you think they're going to be based on new potential ratings and stuff like that. So it's very cool.
Yes.
Major props to Timothy, who was the developer that really helped make this happen and continues to work on improving it. We've got now little badges, as you can see here, for different seasons, depending on like if you made the top 5 or top 10 or you won the season or something, then you get a little badge to signify that you are good at it. We're still working on it, but we're trying to include things as we go.
Somebody on Twitter asked me, can you explain like what's happening here? Okay, so just to explain, like, number one, this is totally free. Like there's no, we show money, okay? We're talking about making money or losing money or buying stocks and whatnot. It's literally free, okay? You're getting play RHAP money when you create an account or have an account. I think you can log in through Facebook or Twitter or whatever you want on the site. And when you create a new account or start the season with your old account, it will give you $200 at the start of the season. It's fake money, but you can use that $200 to then buy shares in house guests along the way after we rate the players. The market's always open. It always opens after our roundtable on Tuesday night, and it closes on Thursday afternoon, right before the Big Brother show. There's usually, I think the rules are all on the site about when it exactly closes. And then, it's just play money and we see what happens. And then the next week, based on what happens on Thursday, we give new ratings, and your house guests can go up or down, and we also suffer the consequences of that. Like I give out ratings, but I only control 1/4 of what happens, and usually I'm outvoted by anybody else, so it never really matters. Anyway, so we're just trying our best, and usually Taran does pretty good with this.
Yes. So yes, it's play money. You don't win anything other than pride, and
Pride, yes.
now these little badges that Louis from the Robot Army Discord, and I'm sure many other things, helped design these badges. This one is for Big Brother 21, and it's a little watermelon to signify
So
that
funny.
you were good at Big Brother 21. So like I said, that's still in development here, but Louis did a great job with those. Came up with the concept of like little like symbolic things for the winner of each season. So that's what we have for the Stockwatch site. But let's get back to the player ratings. So we'll get this kicked off. We'll get this started. You can sign up and start playing anytime throughout the season. It behooves you to start at the start of the season, because then you're going to not miss out on potential profits. So that'll be good for you. And so let's go ahead. Let's start rating the players. We're starting here with Bayleigh. We're going in alphabetical order here, which I think is fine. I like it. So let's start with Bayleigh. All right, Puya. Let's start right off with the audience rating for Bayleigh.
Let's go. What do we do?
The audience gave Bayleigh a 7 out of 10. Puya, explain this.
Yeah, we thought this was an apt choice. I feel like we looked at it and we're like, Bayleigh. No one's got Bayleigh's name on their tongue really, but everyone is talking with Bayleigh. We're all communicating. She's in a lot of situations where people are considering her, people want to work with her. She's got herself in this situation where she's in this little alliance with the Cody, Enzo, and Davon, but then also kind of like is talking to Janelle, has good bonds with Janelle, has decent bonds with Kaysar. A very, very good social player. Someone who is, if I'm looking at it, more often than not, because one of the things in the early goings too is how many people becoming HOH are you going to be in trouble? Mm-hmm. And I can't think of anyone really that Bayleigh's going to be in trouble. That's a good spot to start, good spot to be in, involved with some connections. That's good as well. A 7 is well deserved. And we thought this was a good place to start as the audience. This was an apt decision by us.
Puya, do you agree with the audience?
Me and the audience were on the same page. I knew coming in when I did my ratings, before I realized that me and the audience are going to merge into one, I was like, there's one person that has to be above the rest, and it was Bayleigh. I would have given Bayleigh an 8, and I did when I submitted my scores as an audience member. I threw down an 8, and I was like, I have to do at least one that's above everyone else. And I just looked at it as Bayleigh has no blood, no problem, just connections, just social, but also is part of some foundational stuff that no matter how the house goes next week, should be able to fortify some stuff and be in a better position anyway.
All right. I feel pretty similarly, actually. I'll give some slight spoilers for future ratings. I'm very impressed with a lot of the gameplay in the house so far. I don't think it's a surprise. These are all-stars. They were good players on their original seasons. I think a lot of them are playing even better than they played the first time. I'm very impressed with what I've seen from Bayleigh. I think she's one of the top spots in the house right now. Socially, strategically, she's included in the power group. She has a lot of connections. She has a lot of secret weapons as well, like the relationship she has with Tyler. So I feel very good about Bayleigh. The thing in the back of my mind is I remember Big Brother 20. I remember feeling really good about her then, and I remember her getting power and it all going down the drain. And that worries me. But right now I feel really good about her. And I gave her an 8 there on the Stockwatch. Melissa, what do you think?
Yeah, I totally agree with both the audience and Puya and Taran. I think Bayleigh's in a really good spot. I'm very impressed with her. I gave her an 8 as well. I think out of everybody playing right now, I'm most impressed with Bayleigh. And I think it's partial. I mean, it's hard because, you know, like you said, Big Brother 20, like I was very impressed with her as well. And it kind of all fell off. So we kind of just have to hope she doesn't get power, I guess, or at least maybe now, like hopefully she'll know how to use it better. I don't know. But yeah, I've been very impressed with her. I think that she's kept all of her, she's done a good job of like being social with everybody and also keeping her options open, but also, you know, making inroads with certain groups and certain people. So it's not just like, yeah, I'm not going to give any information. I don't know. I'm just kind of here being social. Like she's actually like making good inroads with people, but isn't fully committing herself one way or the other. I mean, it's the first week. I don't think you need to commit yourself one way or the other. As long as you make some good bonds and put yourself in a good position as for the next week, like I think you're okay. So I'm honestly very impressed with her.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with her as well. I was, Taran stole my line because I remember Big Brother 20 really well and how much we bought into the Bayleigh buzz. We were so excited and we're like, wow, she is like so covered on every side. Look at how well this girl is doing. She knows what's going on. She didn't know the game when she came in, but she has got it. And then she won HOH, and then it all went down the tubes, man. And it went down the tubes fast. Like I'd never seen somebody lose power that fast. It had been a while. So I gave her a 7. I wanted to give her an 8, but I'm holding back just a little bit. Basically, I want to see one more week. I want to see one more week of her doing well in the Big Brother house to give her an 8. I'd be happy to do it because Bayleigh's on my draft team. Not that anybody cares about that, but I'm a big fan of Bayleigh. I think a lot of people didn't like Bayleigh coming on this season. I love Bayleigh. I think she's a fantastic addition to the season. She's got so many cards she can play. She has ways she can connect with people. I love just watching her like talking with like Janelle and being like a girl's girl and just like shooting the shit about like whatever the hell. Like it's really cool to see her just connect with people in such a genuine, heartfelt way. And you know, it like personality wise and rootability, I give her a 10, but as far as the stock watch, I give her a 7.
All right. Next up, we have Christmas. And so Bayleigh will end with an average of 8 out of 10. Christmas now is up next, and Christmas is in an interesting spot. I think that she is doing pretty much what I expected of her based on her first, couple of weeks in the Big Brother 19 house. She does have the social chops to make relationships. She's even like... She's got enough of a strategic mind to not really get herself in trouble and to like be a good ally, which is what Paul saw in her. And she's in an okay spot here. She's got a good connection with Tyler. She's in this Memphis crew. She's building a relationship with people like Cody. She's got a relationship with even like Franzel. She's got one with Bayleigh. And a lot of people want to keep her around because they think she's going to be a good ally for them, that she's going to win competitions. She's going to be, doing the stuff. For me, the main problem I have with Christmas is that at some point she needs to be able to win the respect of the people around her as a game player. And I don't know if she has that yet. And based on how she's operated so far, she still seems like a follower to me. And I don't know if that's going to be respected in the end, but it's a long way away to a jury vote to be docking her too many points for that. I also, though, don't feel super comfortable with her keeping it cool factor. And so I have her right now at a 6. Brent, what do you think?
Oh, I went further than that. I have her at a 4. I'm not buying this for 1 second. I'm really not. I can't believe there's so many people who like, I saw some of the numbers flying past on the chat when they were talking about Christmas, and I saw like 7s and 6s, and I'm like, y'all are crazy. Like, this girl is gonna go off her chain. I'm just waiting for it. There is like, if you saw her on Big Brother 19, she has a temper. And she's going to let somebody have it. Someone's going to irritate the living you-know-what out of her at some point. She's going to let them have it. Also, I agree with what Taran said about having no real respect, I guess is the word in the game. Like, I don't know if that's exactly how he would frame it, but she doesn't really control things. She's a good soldier, but she's a terrible general. And in fact, I don't even think she has any interest in being a general. And that's sort of the worst part of it all. So I'm going to have to see more from her until I give her a better score. But right now it's a 4.
Puya, the audience was feeling a 5 on Christmas. Are you on board with that?
I also went Mambo. That's right. I went with 5 as well. I think that for me, the one thing that set her apart, because I kind of agree with Brent. I think the biggest oof for me is that her best and closest allegiance right now is seemingly what she wants. Her ideal is, hey, me, Tyler, and Bayleigh. I'm like, well, that's a oof for you, that you like, you should know better. But also she has impressed me in the fact that looking at her coming in, gave her like near 0 equity, and she's definitely got the social for now. That's good. We like that. No one's talking about her at all. Of the people that are disconnected, she has at least some loose connections. She is not even one of the disconnecteds at this moment. So I would say that this is on par, because also ultimately you look at it, is anyone going to come after Christmas next week? Most likely not. So that's fine. We'll see you next week, where you either go up or down. For now, you're just bang average to me.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's what I was going to say as well. I think she's a 5, but I also I was leaning towards 6, but at the same time, it's like I haven't really seen enough yet to indicate that it's like on the upward trend. It does seem like some people want to work with her. I have noticed that some people are saying like, oh, she might snap, or like we have to be careful of her. We can't get on her bad side. So like, I don't know if people are really thinking like, this is the ally I want to have, if they're kind of concerned about that already. So I'm a little worried about her ability to like really like have any sort of close allies besides just like, okay, we're taking her on as a number and as like someone who will win competitions for us for now, and then we're going to cut her. But I have been impressed with her socially. I think she's done a good job of like bonding with people and talking with people, and the people seem to get along with her and like her, and I feel like that's super important for the first couple weeks. But I'm not really seeing like where she plans to go from here. I haven't even really seen any indication of her like talking about that, really, like kind of just like, okay, Memphis, like cool, you've brought this idea to me, but it doesn't seem like she's really coming up with anything on her own. So that's why for now I'm just at a 5.
All right. So Christmas is going to land there at a 5 overall. Let's move on to Cody. Like I said, I am very impressed with the gameplay so far. I am very impressed with what Cody has done and what he has set up here. Now, of course, keep in mind, this is the first week. But for me, I gave Tyler a 9 in the first week of Big Brother 20. I've got to give Cody a 9 in the first week of Big Brother 22.
Wow.
I think that, again, yes, it's the first week. A lot of things could go wrong. But if I look at a first week game, is there a lot better that he could have done? Like, is there a lot of room for like what he could have done better here? I think that there are missed opportunities that he had. I think that, certainly not a Dan Giesling, but Dan Giesling didn't have a first week this good, probably in either of his seasons. I'm very impressed with the structure that he set up here. I'm trying to find like who's had a better first week in Big Brother, and honestly, I don't know if there's a lot of other people that have. And I think that when you look at, how well he's set up, I'm pretty impressed with it. So that's where I'm at, Brent.
Yeah, the chat called it. My eyes rolled back pretty far in my head when you said 9. Like, I am not that high on Cody. I still think that, like, here's the thing. With my ratings, I'm always, I'm giving them a rating, but I'm always cautious about looking forward into, what they're here now, but given their current state of game, what do I think is possible for them? Okay. You cannot tell me that at some point the house guests are going to come for this guy because of what he put on the board. 22 flipping seconds is like mind blowing. At some point, they're going to come for him. I do not think he did himself any good by winning HOH during the first week. I think he's a likable, genial presence. I don't think he had to win HOH during the first week. I don't think anybody would have come for him. Also, there's a few missed opportunities on the board. Like, why is he putting up Kevin, who, like, I think really would have worked with Cody, and he may yet get away with nominating Kevin and still keeping him as an ally, but I still think it was a mistake to put him on the block in the first place. It was almost like an HOH without a plan. Like, he won HOH and then he didn't know what to do with it. And yes, there are some semblance of alliances that have formed, but there's nothing really set And also some of the people in those alliances, like Tyler, he doesn't really trust all that much. So I don't think it's a 9. And I didn't give him an 8. I gave him a 7.
Okay. Melissa, what do you think?
I gave him an 8. I thought that he did a really good job his first week. I thought that he was, I keep saying this, but to me, like the first week, it's so important, the social connections you make. So I thought he did really well socially. Like, obviously that's not going to be enough as we move forward, but this first week, I feel like it's huge. Get people to like you, get people to want to work with you, try and show, especially for All-Stars, that like any sort of preseason connections are not a big deal for you, or not relevant, or not like, or not even something to be worried about, especially with like him and Nicole. Like, it's like, okay, you guys were on a season together. Like, what's the deal there? And I think, even though they are super close, I think he's done a good job of distancing himself from her, or at least during the conversations he has with people. And the fact that he already has a bunch of people wanting to work with him. And it seems like everybody in all their discussions of alliances are like, yeah, and we can bring in Cody and let's talk to Cody and, all that. And that's exactly where you want to be in the beginning. I think that, yeah, it's a negative that he hasn't necessarily like totally solidified like what his alliance is and like who he's going to be with. But I also think that at the same time, it's good to kind of keep his options open, especially because like we don't know who's going to win the next HOH. And it does seem to me that, and the reason why I'm not giving him higher than an 8, even though I do think he set himself up really well, is that like, I don't think he's totally in the clear depending on who wins HOH. Like, I think that there are some people who actually would target him, and some people who are definitely, like Brent said, like seeing him as a target due to his really good performance in the competition. So I don't think he's like fully set himself up for like, wow, there's nothing to worry about moving forward. But I do think he did a really, really great job. And that's why an 8 is what I think.
Yeah, just to jump in really quickly, I agree with that. I see Cassie in the chat saying that Cody is safe for a while, but I don't agree with that. I think there is a non-zero chance that he actually leaves the house during week 2. I really do. Now, it would take a large chain of events for it to happen, but I could see if you house guests, once the veto is won by someone and there's 2, nothing players like, David and Christmas or David and Nicole Franzel up on the block, putting Cody up and getting him out of the house and everybody agreeing on it. Like, I could see that happening.
I mean, I honestly think anybody could go in week 2. I don't think there's a single person in that house that is 100% safe from going home in week 2. I think there is so much that is still to, be solidified and re-solidify and de-solidify. And so I think that there's a lot still up in the air. And I'm really looking at this as like a singular week. Like, yes, anything can happen next week. But in terms of like, what could I have asked Cody to do this week? I have a hard time finding like, yes, it's not a 10, but like how much more really realistically could he have done? Puya, what do you think?
What do I think, or what does the audience
think? Then we'll give the audience this time.
Okay. So I personally, I went with a 7. I think for me, ultimately, the fact that Cody is in a position where because we did, Taran, when we got on Friday, we dogged him for the way he was playing. We're like, he's not doing enough. He's being very cagey. He's not bringing people in. He thinks people should come to him, and that's not happening, and he should be putting in work. He did. I'll grant you that. He did. He put in work. Look at him. He's in this double onion alliance. He's in all of them with Enzo. He's one of a few people that is included in every single iteration. That's good for him. He does have some decent reads. I'll give him that. I think for me, where he lost points was the fact that his thing with Frantic Franzel is not as sneaky as he thinks it is. People are going to catch on to it, have been catching on to it. Every conversation that he's having that he thinks is being very covert, very quiet, that's not as quiet as he thinks. I think there's some slipperiness there. I do want to say, though, I acknowledge what you're saying in that he did turn it around. He did put in the work. He has gotten this conversation. He has got his deals in. He's very well situated. Obviously, there are people that could put him up. There are situations where the wrong people get the safety suite, the wrong people get HOH, the wrong person wins veto. He could end up there. It's certainly possible. But I think a 7 is appropriate only because, and for me, ultimately, it's just the factor of Are you going to be on the radar more so than other people, but you're well situated? Yes and yes. So just being on the radar even bumps him down to a 7 for me.
Yeah, I think that he's well situated. I don't think that he's necessarily well insulated, and that's where I'm having a bit more trouble with this game.
Puya, would it surprise you to hear that the audience is even lower on Cody than you and Brent? The audience gave him a 6.
Oh my.
Okay. You know what? I'm going to take the 7. You can't see it. You see it? Throw it. I'm with the audience now. We're saying 6. And
Puya with the magic tricks now.
Oh, yeah. I brought cards. I brought Uno cards today to represent me.
I just like every single season we see these alliances set up and we say what a dumb cast this is to allow this thing to happen. And what Cody is doing right now is he is pulling the wool over the eyes of a bunch of all-stars, and I'm pretty impressed by it. I'm pretty impressed with all of the people in this power group because I think they're all pretty well situated. So you'll be seeing high ratings from me for a lot of them, let me warn you. And just in general, I think the average gameplay in this season is at least like 3 points higher than any other season. So like on, you know, in Big Brother 21, the person in this position might get a 6 or a 7, but on All Stars with these players playing on at this level, like that's gonna give them a boost. So that's what it is. Cody is gonna end up with an average of 8 overall. Let's move on to Dani. Let's talk about Dani. Melissa, how do you feel about Dani?
I feel really good about Dani. I think she's really impressive in her social ability. I think that, I mean, I watched a few conversations with her specifically to pick out the way she has a conversation. And just because I was like, I feel like I'm noticing patterns, but I want to make sure. And it seems to me that like a lot of her conversations with people, where she has this really good ability of making it seem like she's having a really real conversation with you, but not giving you any actual information, and not actually agreeing with you, but making it seem like she's agreeing with you. Because a lot of the time someone will say something like, David's really cagey. I don't know how to feel about him. She'll repeat back as a question what the person just said, like, David's really cagey. And then they go, yeah. And then she goes, yeah. And she just like, And then she'll just say like back to them what they're saying, but not exactly agreeing with them on it, being like, yeah, I don't really know where anybody's head's at right now. And it's a lot of like, it's a lot of like
salad.
Yeah, it's like body language that makes it seem like she's agreeing with you, and like the way her facial expressions are, like, and the way she's like nodding, but her not actually giving you any information. It's very impressive. And I just think that like she does a really good job of it. And I've been very impressed with her. I didn't watch feeds during her seasons, so I didn't know how she behaves outside of like the show edit. So at first I was kind of surprised because I was like, really, I didn't like get this sort of vibe from her, like from her previous seasons. But the more I watch it, the more I'm impressed with it. I think she set herself up really well. I think that this friendship between her and Nicole is good for her because, I mean, yeah, Nicole's not a super great ally to have just because she's always paranoid and she needs to be constantly reassured, but like, you don't want to be on her bad side. So, because she's like willing to betray anybody. So I think that it's good for her to be paired up with her. And also the fact that everybody seems to want to work with Dani, and the new people consider her part of their crew and the old people consider her part of their crew. So I'm very impressed with her. So I got to give her an 8.
There you go. Puya, the audience was the highest on Dani of anybody. Dani nearly making an 8 from the audience, but still landing at a 7. Do you agree?
So I also, as an audience member, came in with a 7 in mind, and had 7 written down and submitted a 7. Through this conversation with Melissa, I'm more so leaning on 8, but I'll take a 7.
That one change could have put her up in an 8. It was very close, Puya.
Don't put it on me.
Puya.
Don't bury me. No, I think honestly, I think 7 works because here's the thing. Dani is well liked, well situated amongst the people. You know, we're looking at the relationship with Frantic Franzel. That's the thing that exists. They have this thing going on with Enzo and Cody. So that's the thing that they're working on. We're talking about that being probably the best of the best. alliances that are formed, like the strongest ones potentially. That's good. She's got a thing with Janelle, but she also doesn't really trust Janelle that much, but is doing a good job of masking that, at least to Janelle. That's nice, to some degree. And then it's also got good relationships with, good conversation with Dave. Like she's a great social player for me. I do enjoy watching her play. I like that she's able to convince people of the nonsense that she's selling them and them buying it. I like all of that. But ultimately, I think similarly to what Brent said about Bayleigh, I need another week. I need one more week to see Dani keep this up and to see what everyone really thinks about her, because I'm a little scared with Dani. I'm a little scared that they're going to wake up and be like, no, Dani's, we've been seeing what Dani's doing. So I'll give it another week, and I'd sing the praises. I'd give it 8, but for now, I'm as the audience, the collective, the thousands of us that rated, we said 7, not just me, all of us.
All right, Brent.
I'm also, just really quick, just the chat is also giving me some good reminders of the various ways that she gets like information from people and doesn't share anything. A lot of the times she'll use this phrase that's like, nobody's talking game to me. Nobody's saying, I'm not hearing anything. Nobody's saying anything to me, even though she's getting so much information and everyone's talking to her. She says that all the time. And then also when she'll sometimes say something I noticed, and then she'll just say something that's not totally relevant to the conversation, but makes you feel like she's telling you something important. She'll be like, something that's like just a story that's not even relevant to like the game, but something that makes it seem like she's only telling you and that you are getting some information from her, but you're not actually getting anything. And I just
or that she agrees with you. Like Janelle will tell her something about Cody and Tyler possibly working together. And then Dani will say, what's funny is that I saw David talking with Tyler, which has no relevance to what Janelle was saying, but it makes it seem like she's agreeing with what Janelle said, even though she didn't agree with what Janelle said.
Or she'll give like observations on what the person just said. So it's like, I think, like you said, like, okay, I think Cody and Tyler are working together. She'll be like, I did see Cody and Tyler like cooking together earlier, and they were in there by themselves.
That's strange.
Which is like literally like, if anyone asks her, it's like, yeah, they were in there. And all I said was, I saw you guys together. I didn't say anything else. And it's like, but that makes it seem like she's totally on board with that. The idea that they're working together. Like, it's very skillful.
Yeah. So Dani, I gave her a 7. So the thing with Dani is it's the same thing with Bayleigh, where I've seen her play before. Dani, I've seen her play twice before, and Dani is somebody who can be really impulsive when she gets irritated with somebody. And I feel like that there is a non-zero chance that she could become irritated with somebody really quickly in the Big Brother house. Now things are really quiet in the All-Star house, but when I have to believe they're going to become not quiet relatively soon. And if Dani has any power in the game, I do feel like she could shoot herself in the foot. Like right now, in my eyes, she has no business winning HOH because everybody really enjoys Dani. I don't think anybody's talking about Dani. No one wants to get rid of Dani. And I certainly believe that, she could win if she got to the end of the game. But I still think that she's not had great game instincts in the past. And given that, I want to see more from her. So I give her a 7.
All right. I gave Dani a 9 as well. Very impressed with what she's doing so far.
Oh my God, you're like the United States judge with United States figure skaters. You're just handing them out left and right.
Look.
You're being so generous.
So happy the show's back, gang.
For reference here, the first week of Big Brother 21, Bella got a 5.
Yeah.
Tommy had an 8 this is from the audience. Tommy had an 8. Right? If we're judging on that scale, Cody and Dani are 9s, right? Come on.
You've nowhere to go from here, Taran.
But this is a curve. Maybe that's just the way I do things.
That's the way I do it.
Yeah,
as well.
This is the current house. What would a 10 be in this house? Not like a 10 overall. Like the 10.
No, but
10
see,
in this house.
that's not how I'm rating. I want, because for me, I think the gameplay is really on a higher level this season, and I think the average rating of a player should be higher this season than in previous ones because the level of gameplay is on that level.
I do agree.
You
with
get
that.
a 9. You get a 9.
I do agree with the idea of like it overall being higher. Like, I mean, at this point, I don't really think that anybody's playing at like a level 2 or a level 3 or anything like that. Like, I do think everybody's like elevated. Brent, I see your face. I know you plan on pulling up your one paddle at some point, but no, like, I mean, I do agree that like previous seasons and even like in Big Brother Canada and stuff, I just remember where it was like everybody was so low except for like 2 people. That is not the case here. My concern with rating everybody a 9 is that like, then what? You know,
Well,
if everybody's at a 9.
Because again, for me, it's not then what, because it's week 1. They can't go back to week 1 and play a better week 1 game in the future, right? Like week 2 will have a slightly different scale than week 1, because it's now week 2 and they have to play a slightly different game. So I look at it as like a snapshot of where they are right now, and we're gonna see, you know, where they go moving forward. All right. So that's going to leave Dani at an 8 overall. And let's move on to David. Brent, how do you feel about David?
Wow, I did not give him a very good score at all. I gave him a 3. I gave him a 3 in the Big Brother All-Star house. I just feel like, here's the thing. He doesn't have any agency in the house. He doesn't have any respect in the house. He doesn't have any power in the house. I also feel like he's a really bad liar. He's trying to act like, and he fooled me, I'll say this. So like, I guess he's not that bad. But see, like, I saw him one time, but then he went on, he asked other people the same thing. And then he asked other people different things about like the way the Big Brother game works. Like, how does the veto work? How do the nominations work? What happens when you vote? Like what, like things, different things about the Big Brother game that anybody who should have been invited back onto All-Stars and had 2 weeks in sequester to watch whatever should know by now. And I feel like the people are onto him, that he's not this dumb, that he's playing it up. And because of that, he comes off looking shady, which is terrible. Also, he doesn't have the respect. Like even Taran even noted on a previous podcast that even if he was able to get to the end of the game and say, ha, I was lying back then when I told you guys that I didn't know what the veto was. Like, no one would care. No one would believe him. It's a terrible trio of things that are happening with David right now. And I could see, like, the thing is, too, nobody really cares about him. I don't even feel like he's that interesting. Like, can I just go on? I want to go in on him just for a second because he's really freaking boring. And there are boring people in the Big Brother house, but my God, he really takes the cake. Like, I've never seen somebody who just doesn't have the ability to just have a normal conversation with somebody like you and I are having right now. Like, Taran, you totally nailed it about when, like, he was asked about, like, well, so David, what do you want for breakfast today? Like, so the thing about breakfast is, like, I don't know. I think about it deeply. Just give us a straight answer. It's okay. Just connect with people. He's just really frustrating. And, like, he's not even that good of a player. Like, if he was a good player and he was, like, terrible to watch and he was boring, at least I could give him that. But he's not a good player and he's boring. Like, how did they invite this guy back? Like, I understand why they invited him back from a let's give somebody a chance who was totally robbed. But there were other people in the history of Big Brother who have also been robbed, like Jody or Cameron, who would have been so much better in the house than David. Look, if he can turn it around, God bless him. For right now, it's a 3. Sorry, that was long-winded.
Yeah, it's David's an interesting one to me. I think that his position is not terrible. I love his connection to Tyler. I love that he is included in the Bayleigh and Devon alliance. I love that he kind of is on the good side of the power crew. However, there was a conversation that Cody had with Christmas earlier today and last night as well. He mentioned, or no, sorry, he had it with Dani. Last night he mentioned that that he wanted to put David on the block, that David should be put on the block, and that is really what kills the score for me. You know, if you are going to be in this good position but nobody really respects you, you're kind of a pawn in the game. You need to not be actually used as a pawn in the game, because that can send you home. That can put you in danger where you should be an easy glide to the finish. And I should be talking about how pencil David in for the final 2, final 3, because, you know, The real trouble is he needs to be able to garner respect to win the game. But what I have to talk about is he might be used as a pawn next week. He might be used as a pawn throughout the game. And at some point, he might get clipped here or there. He has a long road ahead of him. But he's not in a terrible position. He's not screwing himself up like a lot of people do in early weeks of the season. So for me, it's a 4 for David.
So before Puya and Melissa give their ratings, I just want to ask Puya and Melissa. So I think that the encapsulation of David's game was shown. Did you guys see that, like, on Kaysar's birthday, David totally fell on his freaking ass and no one noticed? No one noticed anything.
Poor David.
He
Well,
fell upon his ass in the kitchen and no one said a word.
To be fair, they did see Kevin fall, but nobody saw David fall.
Yes. Anyway.
Poor David.
Puya, the audience is looking at David, and they actually agree with me on this one. They feel like David is a 4. What are your thoughts on that?
They agree with us then, because I also had David at a 4. I think ultimately for me, he was starting to look like a 5, because here's the thing. Brent, I agree with the things you're saying, but also he's literally had nowhere to go but up, right? So, if we're looking at it like as a locked up 1 week thing, I do like the Tyler connection. Obviously, we'll get to Tyler, but that's a good connection to have. Having the Bayleigh Davon thing, that's a good thing to have. But ultimately, when someone that you're working with is even looking at considering putting you up as a pawn, that's not great. When people don't know your name, that's not great. Playing stupid is great if people didn't already think you don't know anything coming in, if they don't know your name, because you can play stupid and be like, I hoodwinked all of you. But then it's a hard time convincing someone that, hey, I was playing stupid, when they already think you're at that level. So that's a hard thing to turn around. Obviously, I think that David, more than anybody, is somebody who could benefit from winning some power and doing something with it. That could immediately—
Can you imagine? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Shove some agency into the boy right away. Give him something. That can be interesting. While we were doing this, he's been having a nice conversation with Kaysar. I don't know exactly what the happenings there are, but you love to see it. I love that interaction. Ultimately, this is the appropriate place to put him, because honestly, he's still like, he could go anywhere. There is enough room for him to bottle out and fall to the floor even more, but there's also enough room that he can do something. Like, that's the thing, is that we're comparing this stuff. He does 2 nice things, he could bump up to a 5, because ultimately, unless he gets pawned next week, I think he might be good enough to like stay in the same level or go up 1. So 4 is the appropriate score. I'm glad the audience made this easy for me to explain, because if the audience went full 6 over here, I don't know how I would have tried to do that. So I'm happy with what we got.
Yeah, what I would like to see from David is almost the opposite of what he's doing, where what he's doing is, and there was an interesting moment earlier today in the Have Not room where he was talking to Nicole Anthony and Ian, and they, like, he was like animated, and he was like having fun, joking around with them, laughing with him. Like, he's usually very serious, but he was like having a good time with them. And then oh, sorry, it wasn't Ian, it was Kevin was in there, and so he's joking around with Kevin and Nicole, and Kevin kind of just goes like, you know, I'm just like, I'm really feeling it in this moment. Like, I just want to say, guys, like, I would really love to work with you. Like, I really feel good about you guys. I feel like I go off of vibes, and I'm just feeling a great vibe. And just David just immediately shut down. It's immediately, oh, okay. Yeah, totally agree. And like, you could see Nicole like trying to like get the energy, like, oh yes, I'm totally like, oh yeah. And David was just like, totally with you. I'm just, you know, thinking about how the thing about the Have Not room is that people come into the Have Not. I'm worried. I'm wondering about like who's going to come into the Have Not room next, and like, are they going to bond like this in this way that we have bonded? And I was like, what happened? And so like, that's kind of how like David talks game. Like, there's a big contrast too when he talks game with Tyler, and whenever Tyler's like in a room with somebody and they give him that like final 2 pitch, Tyler's like, yeah man, like, yeah, let's do this. And when he's in there with David, he's like, yeah David, like, let's go, let's do this. And David's like, yeah, okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. And I want him to be the opposite. I want him to be wide-eyed, enthusiastic, and like wanting to learn. put me under your wing. Teach me the ways of Big Brother, please. I want to learn. I want to work with somebody. I want to be pulled in. I'm so excited to be here. That's how I want David to be, because that's where, like, that's the Ian spot of, like, they might not respect you now, but if you do get to the end, that enthusiasm, that desire to be here will be like, oh, but like, man, like, what a story. Like, he didn't know what he was doing, but he was so excited to be here. He was so enthusiastic about playing. Right now,
he has none of that.
None of it.
None of it.
Yeah. I mean, I've been totally disappointed in David so far. Like, you know that I was very much looking forward to David coming back. And that was one of, like, the few people who was like, give this guy another chance. He's got this. I'm upset, honestly, because I feel like I thought, like, okay, I get that the first time he went in, he wasn't a fan of the show. He didn't know the show at all, but he had a really good read on the house and was, like, good at the game, or seemingly good at the game, just, like, from a natural level. And, like, you know, all you have to do is, like, hone that skill by, like, learning about the game and understanding, like, what's the next step and all that sort of stuff. And I thought that him being asked for All-Stars would be like, okay, kicking into high gear. I'm going to study everything. I'm going to watch the seasons. I'm going to know everything that's going on. Like, I'm going to be fully prepared going in. And maybe he did do that, but I don't see it and I'm not hearing about it. And I, you know, asked his Twitter account, whoever's running it, I asked, like, has he done any prep, you know, for this going into the season? Because it doesn't seem like it. And I didn't really get an answer that, I know I got, like, a joke answer, but it's like, I also didn't get an answer that was, like, an actual, like, yes, no, he actually did a lot of prep, which is what I was looking for. I don't think he did. And it's also not coming through at all in his gameplay. I mean, he doesn't know any of the people he's playing with, and he doesn't know, like, what to do or how to interact with people in regards to the game. And he's not setting himself up in a good position. And I just feel like, you know, and I agree with what Taran said about, like, the way that he is approaching, like, his game talk is not the way that it should be. I mean, that's why people want to work with Tyler. That's why they like Tyler, because Tyler makes every conversation he has with someone feel like it's, like, so important to him and that it's so real and that he's so excited about it. And David doesn't really get that. And I think that if I was in a conversation with David and he was, like, just like, yeah, we should work together, I'd be like, okay, this guy doesn't want to work with me at all. I'm going to go work with somebody else. So, you know, I'm not super impressed with him so far. But I do think that there are some people who are interested in working with him and that, like, he has potential. I don't really necessarily see him as being, like, a huge target. I think people, like you said, might use him as a pawn, but which is dangerous in and of itself. But I don't think that he's, like, a target right now. So I'm going to give him a 4 for now, and we'll see.
Okay. Let's play a quick game of how did we rate David when he wasn't playing the game versus how do we rate
David
gave him
an 8.
while he is playing the game? When he wasn't playing the game, I gave him a 3. And he is playing the game, I gave him a 4. The audience, when he wasn't playing the game, gave him a 5. When he is playing the game, they gave him a 4. Brent was spot on. When he wasn't playing, he gave him a 3. And when he is playing, he gave him a 3. Melissa, when he wasn't playing the game, gave him a 7. When he is playing the game, she gave him a 4.
Well, I can't explain it.
Well,
wish I had a good explanation for you, but maybe I'm crazy. We'll see.
All right, let's move on to Devon. Let's talk about Devon. Puya, the audience feels like Devon is a 6. How do you feel about that?
We picked the same. I also went with a 6. For me, Devon was just a bit shorter from the ones that I gave 7s and 8, because I think that I'm worried because Devon, unlike the people that have the connections right now, Devon's the one I worry with because I don't think the connections are that strong. Devon's definitely doing a bit of a different game this time around. She's definitely trying to emphasize more on her social game, less on the I'm going to get my reads on. I'm going to, like, figure out everybody. I'm going to be laser focused. She's definitely let go of the steering wheel a little bit. And I like that. I love that. I enjoy that. I like seeing a new side to Davon. I like seeing the different gameplay. However, we've talked about it, especially you've talked about it on the updates and such, that this game, this caliber of gameplay, this caliber of people, you can't be doing that. You have to have one hand on the wheel at least. So I feel like it's kind of, she's in a position where her reads are definitely not as strong as they've been before. Her connections are good, but without the correct reads, you're going in circles and you're not going to the destination you need to get to. So that worries me. The reason it's still a 6 and not high, but also not low, is because this is not a big problem for someone like Davon. She can easily reboot the computer and have all the reads by next week. And I trust that Davon's the type of player that can do that. And I think her connections are going to keep her safe until she does that. She gets the manual and she figures it out. So that's why for me and for the audience, we've said 6, and it's good. It's good. We'll take it.
All right. Melissa, how do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the whole like bad reads thing is kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy for both her and for Nicole Anthony at this point, because I feel like they're known for, or at least like the fans are all like, oh, their reads are amazing. Davon always had a great read of the house, and Nicole Anthony was the only one to suss everything out. Like, she had a good read of the house. And I feel like because of that, now they're going into this being like, I'm going to trust my gut. And I know that what I'm thinking is what's going on, like, because I'm really good at reading this. And you've got like literally Nicole Anthony, like just like totally off the rails with her reads. And then you've got Davon not anywhere near the normal level of like Davon reads, but I'm concerned that they're going to sit there and be like, because I'm so good at reading and I'm known for that, like, this is what's happening. And I hope that that's not the case, but I'm a little nervous. I mean, like you said, like, it's totally possible that tomorrow she wakes up, everything's back to normal, and she's really good at understanding what's going on and who's working with who and et cetera, et cetera. But at this point, I'm a little worried. However, I do think that she's making good relationships with people. I'm worried that people are already like, oh, Day and Bay, like, they're together. Like, we can't work with this person without this person, even though, like, you know, maybe they are friends, but I don't really see them necessarily as like a bonded pair, but everyone else seems to think that. And so that makes me worried for her, because they're going to think like, we have to split them up, even though maybe you don't have to split them up. I don't know. So, you know, I got to give Day a 6.
Yes. Okay. I like to think of them as Bay Day. I keep, like, every time I have to say both of their names at the same time, Day and Bay, I often find myself thinking Daily and Bayvon, which I think either one is like a pretty cool ship name, right? But there we go. I feel good about Davon. I do. I don't love her reads, and there are some things that she's doing that I don't care for, like the way she shuts out Kaysar, or the way that she has like really misread some situations. I feel like I was hoping that I'd see like an improved version of Davon, because I know that she's played like a flawed game twice before, and I was really hoping for like she went on the challenge, she really like ironed out those flaws. I think she still is an improved player, but I don't think that those flaws are fully ironed out. So for me, Davon is a 7. I still like where she's at. She's in that power group. She's in, you know, the brigade. She's in one of the brigades. And not only is she in one of the brigades, but I honestly think, despite the fact that I think the other brigade, the Cody, Enzo, Dani, and Franzel one, I think that one is more solid right now. But it has Franzel in it. So I'm kind of expecting that this other one, the Davon and Bayleigh one, is actually going to be the more successful one in the long run. I really do. I think that like pretty much every member of that other 4, Cody and Enzo in particular, like look at Franzel like, this is a ticking time bomb. Like, this is going to explode eventually. And if Bayleigh and Davon are a more steady presence, then I could easily see them being the ones that end up in the more power position. Not only that, but they do bring more value. You know, yes, Franzel has Ian, and Dani is playing really well and brings a lot of value. But Bayleigh has a connection to Janelle like none other. I know Dani has one, but I'd feel more confident in Bayleigh's connection. And Davon has a connection to the Nicole Anthonys and Kevins of the world. And that's something that nobody else can bring to the table. And I think that really is going to help Bayleigh and Davon get in with this group, and I do think they can do big things with it if they play their cards right. And the fact that she is working so tightly with Bayleigh, I think, is another great thing, because I really do. Again, I'm hoping that we don't run into Bayleigh's, power issues, but I'm hoping that Bayleigh can help sort of fill in some of the gaps in Davon's strategy portion of like what she's doing. So I feel really good about both of them. I feel a little bit better about Bayleigh, but I do feel good about Davon, and I think that there's still a lot of potential here for them to succeed in this power group. So 7 from me. Brent, what do you think?
So this is the question I want to ask Davon. What did Davon think that Cody was going to do during week 1 before the safety suite happened?
Yeah.
I haven't really gotten a clear answer on that. Like, she seems to think that Janelle and Kaysar are flipping crazy for playing that thing. That they had no business playing the safety suite. That they were totally fine. Even to this day, no one has told her that they were actually in trouble. She's not getting all the information that she needs. She's in a couple of different alliances, a couple of different groups, but Nicole frickin' Franzel, or Franzel, if you listen to Derek's Instagram today, is in those groups. And I'm like the Big Brother house guests. Like, they go off of what they've done in the past. I'm going off of what they've done in the past. Every time that Davon has had trouble with somebody, she's lost. She's lost that battle. Before, it was Audrey and the cast of Big Brother 17. Then in 18, it was Nicole Franzel. And if she's in an alliance with Nicole Franzel, there's a lot of people that I think would pick Nicole Franzel over her. I know I take your point, Taran, that Davon has a lot of friends in the Big Brother house, and I do think she's well respected. People like her, and let me just tell you, show me a season where Davon wins Big Brother 22, and I will put it in my all-time history book of best seasons ever. Totally rooting for her to go all the way. But I really do think that, as I said on draft night, that they will put Day and Bay up on the block, and I think Day goes home in that instance, because Bayleigh's more connected. She's got, I don't want to say less of a temper, but I feel like she's able to control her emotions. And if she doesn't get power, I feel like most of the time she's able to control her emotions better than Davon. And I'm like, you can't even tell me Davon's reads are very good right now. Like, she's well liked in the house, and I don't think anyone's coming for her right now. But I also am afraid that she's getting rid of people and could be getting rid of people in the future that she's going to need. Like, there's no way Cody's going to pick her over Franzel. There's no way Tyler's going to pick her over people like Dani. Like, she's going to need allies in the house. And right now, I don't feel like she's doing herself a service by the way she's playing the game. So I gave her a 5. Sorry.
5.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Well, there it's okay.
What?
I think a 5 is low for her position. I really do. I think that I agree with you. I've been very disappointed with Davon's reads, but the reads in week 1, I feel like don't matter quite as much, especially if she's in, it would be one thing if she had bad reads and she was completely left on the outs, but she is in the center of the power structure, and or at least close to it. And so even if she does have bad reads right now, she will learn and she will find things out because of her position. So
let me ask you this. So would it make you guys feel better if I told you, spoiler, that the highest number I gave anybody is a 7. So the highest number I gave anybody was a 7. I gave Day a 5. I feel like that, judging from what I'm seeing in the Big Brother house, and again, we do things differently because we're different people, but I'm grading more on a curve on what I expect of the All-Star house at this point and how you can be playing at this point in the game. In the All-Star house, I think that 7 is the highest I can give everybody, and right now Davon is a 5 for me.
Well, I mean, that's exactly like my highest is a 9, and I gave her a 7. I mean, I think I'm like 2 points above you on every rating, and I'm like 1 point above Melissa on every rating because we just see like I think we're looking at it from like different averages overall, and that's but I think overall we've been pretty lockstep otherwise. All right, let's move on. Devon overall is gonna get a 6 average. Let's talk about Enzo. Let's talk about Enzo. I feel great about Enzo. When we talked about it in the preseason, I kind of felt like, worst case scenario is Enzo goes in and he tries to do exactly what he did the first time in a super obvious way, and everybody looks at Enzo like, look at this guy trying to do the Brigade 2.0. And I felt like the best case scenario was he goes in and he actually does get involved in like a good group, and he is the hype man again, and is like able to like be the Enzo of the past. And I feel like he exceeded even those expectations, and the reason why is because he won a veto. And that matters. It matters. He's more physical than he was the first time he played. He's able to win a veto. That's good stuff. Like he's played in 2 competitions and he's won one of them now. Yes, Tyler kind of threw it a little bit. Yes, okay. But
doesn't matter.
Keesha didn't throw it.
Yeah.
Kevin didn't throw it. Enzo can win competitions, and that's going to be huge. I feel very good about that. Enzo, I do think, has also improved strategically. I think that he recognized exactly what people were going to expect from him, and so he intentionally avoided doing it. He's still doing essentially what he wanted to do, which is form more brigades, but he's not doing it in the obvious way that I think a lot of people thought he might. He is working with women and getting along with them fine. No, he doesn't have like a super like parachute alliance right now, but he doesn't really need one because he has an entire other brigade as his parachute alliance. He has great relationships with Bayleigh and Devon. I really like where Enzo is. I still think the main thing that he has to contend with is that he is always the bridesmaid and never the bride. He never has any best friends. He needs to, like, the competitions is, like I said, that's the thing that can elevate him. If he wins a bunch of competitions, that can get him the win, not only in the end by getting himself there, but also garnering the respect from the jury by having won a bunch of competitions. That's what I like from Enzo. So I really like where he's at, and I gave him an 8 overall, on the cusp of a 9 for me. I love where Enzo is at. Melissa, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think Enzo's in a really good position right now. I mean, he's placed himself in a good position. At first, I heard a lot of talk about like, oh, I'm just waiting for Enzo to come talk to me about forming a guys alliance or another brigade, like, ha, ha, ha. And I thought like, oh boy, they're on to Enzo. He's probably going to do that. And then they're probably going to turn him down or like make fun of him or something. But then they all just accepted it. And so now he's in 2 brigades essentially. So, I'm very impressed with his gameplay so far. And I think that another thing to think about is the fact that everybody seems to like him. Even people who he's not technically working with or anything like that, they all say in the conversations like, Enzo's so funny. I think he's so fun to be around, etc. So I do think he's in a good place right now. And I think that he's also building foundations for him to be good in moving forward. So I'm going to give him a 7.
All right.
This is so predictable. So I was laughing because so Taran gives an 8, and then Melissa's 1 point below Taran, and I'm 2 points below Taran. So I'm giving him a 6. I had 6 written on my paper.
Oh my God.
It's just like that's why I was like,
step. We're just working on different scale. Like
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
scales.
we all agree. We're just like one.
yeah, exactly.
One removed.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say as much about Enzo. Like you guys have said enough about him, but I take the biggest thing you said that I take from what you said, Taran, is the fact that can he not be the bridesmaid this time? Can he find a ride or die? Can he find somebody that's going to work with him? Possibly Cody, because I don't think Cody really wants to work with Tyler. So if Cody feels like that Enzo could be his ride or die, and like Enzo's a little bit older, he's kind of got that Derek mentality a little bit of kind of the East Coast, a loyal guy. maybe they can sort of recreate the Hitman. I feel like Enzo would be into that. That actually would be interesting. Like I will say that I wouldn't hate that if Cody and Enzo did basically a version of like the Renegades when Dan recreated it with Ian, even though that wasn't really real. It was real for Ian, but it wasn't real for Dan. If Enzo and Cody recreated the Hitmen, which CBS just apparently loves, then it would be cool to watch. So if he could do that, that would be really, really cool. But I'm giving him a 6 for now.
All right. So the audience is with you, Brent, on this one. The audience gave him a 6. Puya, what do you think about that?
Audience, what are we doing here? No. Listen, I, as someone who was very vocal, that I was excited to see the Meow Meow come back for a sequel, I think the Meow Meow has exceeded my expectations because, yes, he's low-key coming with the same mentality. You clocked him in the preseason. He's going to come in and he's going to be like, hey, I did everything right. All I did was not win a competition. Let's say that's his logic, whatever. He's put himself in a good position. He's in all the major alliances at the moment as not even the main, not even the figurehead, which is a good place to be because he's not going to get targeted first. That's good. But then also has come back in 2.0 version of himself with the old man strength and the jackedness, and then wins a comp right out the gate. Had 1 veto his whole season that last time. Played all the way to the bitter end. 1 veto. First week, 1 veto. Already on par with the comps. That is great. Love that. I think there's a lot of room for Enzo to grow in. I think there's a lot more he can go to. I think his strategic chops are there, are bigger, are better. He's very good socially. I mean, you think about the soundbite aspect of this person. He's coming already. He's given us good memes. He's the crayon salesman. He's the guy that worked at some nipple factory. Like, he's got all these like fun stories, and that's us laughing from the outside. They're laughing on the inside. They're loving it. You know, I saw a conversation where Janelle and Dani were talking about like, oh, Brittany like told me that I was gonna love Enzo, and Brittany was right. Like, Enzo is fun. It's gonna be good to see. I think there's a lot more he's gonna offer us. And if anything, audience and Brent, I thank you both because Taran single-handedly was making it very hard for me to purchase my favorites because everyone's expensive. So Enzo coming through at a bargain at 7, in my opinion. This is a good spot to be for Enzo.
All right, let's move on to Ian. Let's talk about Ian and Puya. Let's just go back to back here. The audience gave Ian a 5. How do you feel about that?
That's fine. 5 is appropriate. I think let me look at mine real quick. I had a 4, but then it was one of those where like Ian was one of my shaky spots where it would have been a 4 or 5. I just think that there's not been enough for me to have seen from Ian. He comes in as one of 2 winners. That's not a good place to be in. It helps that the other winner is Frantic Franzel, who I think came in a better position. And
I love it that you call her that.
I'm trying to make it a thing now, and actively has kind of made herself a bigger time. Because I think coming in, I was like, okay, there's no way if she's sitting there next to Ian on the block, she's going to stay because she's well connected. I'm starting to feel less and less confident about that. I think Ian's going to get better and better. This is the fact of the matter is this is the right position for Ian to be in because Ian coming into his first season, similar to Ian here, Ian needs the time to assimilate with the group he's in. He needs to get comfortable with the crew he's with, and he needs to get used to his environment, and then he picks up and does better and better. I think with the age that he comes in, there's a level of maturity to him. I think there's a lot of important conversations we've gotten out of Ian. He's doing well socially more and more, in my opinion. And I think that as time goes by, he's going to get put in a better position. So it only makes sense that he comes in at this spot of kind of in the middle. I think ultimately, do I think he's in the safest spot? Do I think he's going to go unnoticed next week? No, I think there's definitely a chance that he could be in jeopardy depending on who wins it and what happens and all the mechanics that go into safeties and vetoes and all. Ian could have a problem. Again, one of 2 winners on over here. The fact that his one big alliance, his one named alliance, the Million Club, is with Frantic Franzel is worrisome because, again, she has actively been, I feel like, putting herself in a worse and worse position. So, and keeps boasting about her connection to Ian, which makes me nervous for Ian because at some point, if they're like, you know what, Frantic Franzel's bothering me, but I don't want to go after her, I'll go after Ian. She said, Ian, I'll just take Ian out, make her weaker. That's bad for him. So I think 5 is apt because it could really, depending on who this HOH is, go either up 1 next week or go down 2 next week. So,
all right, Brent, how do you feel?
I feel similarly. I've noticed that we are barely through. This is our halfway through, and it's a little. So it's going to be a long podcast. What can I say? I'll keep it short with Ian. I gave him a 4. I echo a lot of what Puya says. He doesn't have an alliance. I feel like I agree with the chat. He needs a fake alliance right now. That will at least get him through part of the game. If he could find himself a fake alliance right now, that would make him feel a little bit better. I do feel like he's in danger potentially early in the game, but much like his run on Big Brother 14. If he can survive the next week or so, I like his chances. So it's a 4 for now.
Yeah, that's the thing. This Ian is being set up for a fall, is what's happening. Him being put up with Franzel, being talking about Ian and Franzel together. I think Franzel's doing it on purpose. I think Dani is doing it on purpose. Franzel is basically using her relationship with Ian as bargaining power with other players. And a lot of people are worried about Ian. Davon's worried about him. Dani's worried about him. Memphis is worried about him. There are a lot of people who would win HOH next week, and I think target Ian. And on top of that, like I still don't have the confidence in his competition abilities. I think he's, like I said this before, I think he's one of the best competition players ever in Big Brother by the old standard. It's a new standard. I don't know if it's going to go by the new standard with the new, COVID stuff happening. But I think that he kind of expected to do well in this veto, and he was pretty disappointed with himself that he didn't. And if he is not able to win competitions, I do feel nervous about his longevity in the game. I think he's playing leagues better than he did in 14 so far.
Oh yeah.
I love the maturity that he has brought to his game in comparison to what he had before. He is not the first one out, and he did not need anybody's protection to do it. He said that was important to him, and so he has made it through week 1. But I worry for him in week 2. I worry for him in week 3. I worry for him in week 4. I don't know where he's ever going to be able to feel safe. And that is, it's unfortunate. So yeah, I agree. I went with a 4 on Ian. Melissa.
Yeah, I'm actually a 4 as well. You guys basically said everything I wanted to say. I'm nervous for him. He doesn't have any really true allies. It seems like all his allies are fake or setting him up. So it's not great for him. He's doing some work socially, but it doesn't really seem like he's really connecting with people. So I am a little worried. And there has been talk already of putting him on the block or getting him out. And if he might be safe if there's a situation where the house is like split next week and, the two sides actually like form as like factions or something, and he kind of gets lost in the shuffle. But if they're just looking for an easy target that isn't really super connected with people, he'd be an easy one to get out. So I am worried about him, but yeah, we'll see.
All right, so Ian's gonna land there at a 4. Let's move on to Janelle. Let's talk about Janelle. Brent, how do you feel about Janelle?
Not good. Not good, Bob. I have her at a 3. Don't really like what Janelle is doing in the Big Brother house. I mean, she's trying. She's trying. I think that some people in the house are being unfair to her, that she's trying to connect with them. She's a genuine person. She's really fun. I would work with Janelle if I was in the Big Brother house, but it cannot be left unsaid that she just, for some reason, is not connecting with some of these people. I don't know what it is. I'm like, Melissa, I share her concern about what the hell's going on? Why don't these people want to work with Janelle? Maybe it was a messy pregame. I don't know. But some of the people that she thinks she has, like Dani, she doesn't have. Some of the people that she might think she has, like Nicole Anthony, she doesn't also have. She's really looking for allies. Maybe she has Ian and Kaysar. And maybe there's 1 or 2 other people that wouldn't put her up, but I think that the most likely result of week 2 is that we're going to see nominations of Kaysar and Janelle. That's just, I'm already preparing myself for it. So it's a 3 for right now.
Yeah, I mean, look, I do think there's more hope for Kaysar and Janelle than
Tell me, make
than
me
it
feel better,
seems.
Taran.
Well, look, you listen to the people talking about potential targets next week, and you're looking at like Nicole Anthony and David on the block. You're looking at people who are looking at Ian as a potential target. Yes, Cody wants Kaysar gone, but Cody can't compete next week. Yes, Franzel wants Janelle gone. But that's one person, and I haven't really heard it echoed by many other people. Dani is worried about Janelle, but it's not really a bridge she needs to burn.
Franzel is so intractable though, with the oh, Janelle, I worry about her. I could see her going up there and just is anybody asking if you're putting me up? Is anybody talking about putting the winners up? Me and Ian.
Yeah.
Sorry,
but
we're not doing Franzel yet.
I don't know. We'll talk about Tyler. I don't know where Tyler is. I really don't. But I feel like I don't think Tyler's gunning for Janelle and Kaysar. He's been working on them so much. I don't think that maybe they can talk Christmas into going after Janelle. But I don't know. I don't think Bayleigh is, and if Bayleigh's not, I don't think Davon will. Honestly, she might be most in danger from Nicole Anthony because of nonsense. But I really do feel like there are some outs here. I really do. Okay. I don't think she's completely dead in the water, and I do think that also Kaysar would likely go before Janelle, and I think that's actually a pretty nice place to be, because once Kaysar goes, Janelle has a lot of opportunity to get back in. So I actually went with a 5 on Janelle.
Right.
She could go next week. It might be a little overly optimistic, but like I said, I feel like Kaysar goes before her, and if that happens, then I like the position she's in. So 5 from me on Janelle. Melissa, what do you think?
I was going to give her a 5 as well. Sorry, I was muted.
There you go.
As much as it's devastating to me to not give her a 10, I do think that she is in a little bit of a dangerous spot, just because it does seem like no one wants to work with her. However, from all the conversations, it does seem like there are a lot of people out there who are I like Janelle. Janelle could be a good ally to have. There's a lot of little bits of fishing when it comes to Janelle. Whereas with Kaysar, it doesn't seem like that. So, like Taran said, if they're on the block together, I see a situation where Kaysar goes home before Janelle. And I also see a situation where, depending on how the next couple HOHs go, maybe they pick up some allies. Maybe Janelle can make inroads with people. I mean, even Cody, who was gonna put them on the block, was talking about I'd be interested in working with Janelle. So, I do think that there's a situation out there where I don't think she's dead in the water, and I don't think okay, next week she's gone or anything like that. I think there's still some chance for her. So that's why I'm kind of middle of the roading it and giving her a 5.
The audience is at a 5 with Janelle. Puya, how do you feel about that?
That's fair. So I ended up putting 4, and the whole thing is, and to advocate with the audience here, Janelle is playing a decent game for someone that is being blocked from playing the game pretty much. She's doing work. She is working hard. She's working hard on today, trying to campaign for maybe a Keesha save potentially. She does have somewhat good relationship with Cody. She is talking to people. The problem is Janelle has what we were talking about with Ian. Janelle has a lot of people who are just being fake to her and saying yes and nodding along and being we're good, but in the back of their heads, nervous about Janelle. I do think the fact that Kaysar is seen as a target ahead of her is good for her, because should Kaysar leave, Janelle's target should be removed a little bit and she should be seen as less scary. However, the other side of the coin is Janelle wins HOH next week. That's incredible. That's fun. We love it. But that only confirms what these people have convinced themselves. That only confirms this whole what's it called? prophecy that they've created, self-fulfilling prophecy of like, Janelle's dangerous, Janelle's dangerous, Janelle's dangerous, and boom, now Janelle wins this. Now there's a problem. Now we know it was true. So it's not a good position to be in. I think if you look at her, if she was in the position that any of the other players that got a high rating were tonight, we'd be giving her that rating. Like, she's doing good. The problem is it's just going nowhere because every road she tries to go up is a dead end. So we'll see what happens. I think obviously she benefits from an HOH. As much as it will be a threat on her, it also opens doors. It makes people have to kind of like do a little bit of the sucking up and do a little bit of the trying to work with Janelle, which could give her new inroads. But for now, it's shaky. It's scary. We don't want to see it. But it's been fun to have Janelle back.
Yes. So I think that's going to land Janelle at a 5 overall. I think we might be having slight technical difficulties with the chart, but that's fine. If you're listening along, won't matter.
Exactly.
So let's move on to Kaysar. I do feel the need to quickly give an update on some things that are shedding some light for me on what Tyler is thinking. It is somewhat relevant to Janelle, I think. That Tyler was having a conversation with Christmas and finally kind of revealing something that I was actually planning on talking about with Tyler in regards to his conversations with Dani. Tyler is actually not fully sold on A, this Memphis thing, and B, the Cody Dani thing. He is worried about them in the same way that they are worried about him. And that makes a lot of sense where he's at. I'll talk about this more when it comes to Tyler. But I almost want to go back now that I know about Tyler and just Cody and Dani back down at an 8. But that's fine. That's fine. It's too late. Already gave him a 9. Can't go back. But that's big. That's big. Tyler's a dangerous enemy. It's a dangerous enemy to have. So
you can change your score. I feel like if you want to. Like, we haven't finalized anything yet, so it's up to you how you run. It's your show, so you do what you want. I'm cool. I'm cool with it.
If look, I don't want to like completely like everyone goes back and changes everything.
No, I feel like this is a special case. Like, I'm not gonna change my scores.
But I do feel like this is exactly the sort of thing in week 1 where I feel like it really does kind of take them down just that peg. Like 9 was like nothing seems to be in their way, but if Tyler is in their way, that's an 8. And
so you want to bring Cody and Dani down from a 9 to an 8?
Here's what I want to do. I want to go Cody, Dani, 8s, bump Bayleigh up to a 9. No, I can't do it. Bayleigh needs to stay at an 8.
So do you want to bring Cody and Dani down to an 8?
Let's do it. If you guys are good with it.
Yeah, I'm cool with it. Melissa, are you good with it? She didn't care. Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry. Yes. Sorry. Yes.
All right. So that's what we're gonna do. I mean, look, the ratings, they change hour to hour.
They really do. It's based on feeds.
Yeah.
We're the live feed correspondents. I almost said updaters, but we're the live feed correspondents. It's literally what we're doing. So it's the live feeds. So it might change something. And they reflected it in the chart. Yay.
Yes. So that's going to knock Cody down to an 7. And everything else is going to stay the same. So there you go. Let's talk about Kaysar. I love Kaysar.
Oh, yeah.
I love Kaysar. Puya, I know you're with me. Here, we can start with you, Puya. The audience gave Kaysar a 5.
I see.
I like their heart.
Same.
Yeah.
But their heart's not bigger than mine. I gave him an 8. No, I'm just kidding. I gave him a 3. I actually gave him a 3. To be honest with you. Yeah. I mean, it hurt. It hurt me so much to not give him a high rating. I wanted to. I wanted to. But the fact of the matter is, I think good conversation. Kaysar is a great conversation, but some things haven't really changed all that much. I think that there's been many moments throughout this week where Janelle has to be like, fam, pump the brakes, stop, leave it. You're not on the block. Like, because my whole excitement when we came into Friday and I was like, Taran, he's got safety. He's got a week to go social, to just have a conversation and just make the relationships happen. He's been doing some of that, but the problem is that intensity, that passion for, executing plans that only Kaysar can really, really want is not being done hiddenly. They are seeing it and they are actively nervous about it. It's unfortunate because I worry, he's going into next week, one of 3 people that are guaranteed. Oh no, that's a lie. He can win HOH. I was about to say, no, guaranteed not safety, but he's one of 2 people that can't participate in the safety comp. So unless an ally of his wins the safety, wins HOH, I think Kaysar's touching the block, and it's unfortunate and it's awful. And I don't want to go into Friday be like Kaysar for veto. Like, I don't want to be that out of hope early. But the sheer fact is that Kaysar's in a position where he's playing a very, very losing game because of the makeup of the house, because of the makeup of the dynamics, because of the fact that no one wants to play with him, because everyone's just so zeroed in on this pair being like the be-all, end-all of targets. So outside of a HOH draw working his way, it's looking very scary that we're going to be talking about a Kaysar boot week 2. So for that reason, as much as my heart hurts, I'm going to give him a 3, but the audience said 5, and I love the audience because we are optimistic on the Kaysar train, always and forever.
Yep. I'm just there's the feeds are killing me right now.
Yep. All right, then let's go through these ratings.
Can we just do a do-over, guys? This like a moment. Tyler and Cody are finally having like the conversation that I've been waiting for them to have for so long. Okay.
That's what happens Tuesday nights.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I know. I'm like literally just like, okay, what's happening?
And look, anything can change from here. So but we're good. We're good for now. Kaysar, I don't feel great about. I love Kaysar as a human being. I think that he's so much fun, and like, I would love to work with Kaysar in the game. Like, I feel like I get him. And I love just like honestly like the wisdom that he has, and like he's so emotionally intelligent, like he understands things. Like I can trust anybody to go talk to Kaysar, and I know he's gonna give them like great advice, and I think that's awesome. In the game, as a player of the game, there is a disconnect. He doesn't have the right social instincts to make solid connections with people. And like, man, when you think about like the people that he's worked with in the past, Janelle, Howie, like the Sovereign Six, they were people that were kind of pushed together. It wasn't pulled together by a social game. They were pushed together like out of necessity. He went back into season 7 with those same allies, and he made some like connections, yes, but not game connections in season 7. And now he's back, and like you can tell even his relationship with Janelle, like they're friends, they haven't talked in a while, and like they don't connect on a game level. Janelle and Kaysar don't. They come from very different places, and you can tell that Janelle is often just like, okay, sir, like you're doing your thing. And it takes years of knowing him or like being forced in with him to get her to work with him in the way that she does. And that sucks for Kaysar because I think he's great. But unfortunately, I am going to have to give him a 3 out of 10. It hurts my heart. I'm rooting for him. If Kaysar can win this game, I'm gonna be.
Oh yeah.
Confetti
Kaysar
will rain.
wins this game. Oh my God, that'll be a miracle. I'll be so happy. But no, I mean, for my rating, I have to disagree with Taran and go with the audience. I'm giving him a 5, and that is because while I think he's in a precarious position right now, I think that he has such a good read on the house and what's going on in the house and the people in the house and what makes them tick. And I think that while maybe he's struggling to connect right now on a social level, I do think he does have some very good conversations with people Maybe he doesn't have the ability to do like the lighthearted conversation, but he has really great conversations that are on an emotional level with these people. And I think that will mean something. And I think that moving forward, I think he's in a worse position than Janelle, but I think that it's possible that he can pull himself out of a bad position due to his read on the game and his ability to see what's coming before it happens, basically. So I'm giving him a 5 with the hope that things will turn around for him and he'll be able to get some more allies, but we'll see.
All right, Brent.
I'm like Sandra in Survivor. Like, I don't know about that.
I know. I saw Puya's face. Puya, we had the same reaction to Melissa's rating. Like, how dare you? we are making the tough choice, and you're over here giving him 5s like it's nothing. Shame on you, audience. Shame on you.
I had to do it.
I was like, I don't want to come here and say like 6. And I'm like, he's just in love with Kaysar. Look at him fanboying. What a simp. And like, I was like, it hurts, but I'll put the 3 out there, I guess. But then audience said 5, and I was like, hey, we can run with this. I can just blame me and the audience, man. We're all on the same page.
Yeah. So I wrote it down. I gave him a 2.
What?
I can't even argue, man.
This is the thing. Like, if you actually watch Kaysar, like, so what that is, I don't mean to, I'm not being sassy with you, Melissa, but so what that his reads on the house are great.
Yeah, but look what happened for this situation. I mean,
that's true. That's fair.
Competed because he knew that something was up and everyone else was like reassuring him and telling him, don't worry about it.
True.
I don't think he'll just sit idly by and let himself go home like a lot of people might, just because other people are telling him, you're good. I think he will know what's up. Yeah. I think he will know the right people to talk to.
And I pray that you're right. But just here's the thing, just insofar as connecting with people and understanding them and being able to grab them where you can look into their eyes and make them feel comfortable with you, he just lacks that. And I agree with Taran. I think I would get along great with Kaysar. Like I love like that sort of intense presence in my life. But most of the house guests just do not. There's no way that they can find a way to connect with him. And it frustrates me to no end. But I have to believe that it's like Occam's razor. The most likely result of this coming week is that Kaysar's going to touch the block. Kaysar's going to go home. That's the most likely way that things, and I pray to God that I'm wrong. I would love for it to be anything other because I fucking love Kaysar, but I feel like it's not going to be great. And I can see that all 3 of you are watching the feed. So,
I mean, look, I honestly, sometimes this happens, but like it's week 1 and things are so subject to change.
And this is a different week 1 because we like normally week 1's like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And like, we don't normally get the first week and we're getting the first week and then things are happening right now.
So just what's happening right now, Tyler is like having this conversation with Cody. He had a conversation with Christmas where he said, I'm skeptical of this Memphis alliance. I'm skeptical of Dani, which I just tweeted out earlier today. I was like, there's something up with him and Dani. And he's worried about the fact that he thinks something might have solidified without them beyond this Memphis thing. And so he said, I'm going to get close to Cody because I need to, like, we can't be on the outs of this. And so he went up and he finally had the conversation that Cody has been waiting for. And he was like, hey, man, I'm in. They were actually talking to each other and opening up, and Cody like spilled a ton to him apparently. And Tyler was sticking up for Kaysar, saying like, hey man, Kaysar's been talking to me saying he wants to work with us too. And like, that's good news for Kaysar. Like Cody is his biggest enemy in the house right now. And if Tyler has influence with Cody and Tyler is interested in keeping Kaysar and might be able to make that happen, like this could really shift things around. And like Tyler could, like, you have no idea, guys. I was so excited to come in here and give Tyler a bad rating. We'll see where it goes. But like, honestly, this is already starting to shift some of what we've been saying, because the structure in the house might change from this, and this is why week 1 is so much fun. All right, Kaysar ends on a 4. Keesha is up next. Let's talk Keesha. Melissa.
I said earlier I didn't give anyone a 2 or 3, but I guess like I kind of lied. I feel bad because I like Keesha, but I'm worried that she's not pushing hard enough to stay or even like get a solid answer out of people. I feel like when she talks to them to campaign, they basically say like, no one's telling me anything. No one's saying. And it's like, and then they're like, I'll just go with the house. And she's just like, okay, and accepts it. But it's like, you can't just go to every person and have them give you that same like non-answer and just like be like, well, I guess nobody knows. That's it. Nothing I can do. There's got to be something you can do. And even Janelle was saying that Keisha's not doing a good job of campaigning, and was saying stuff like, oh, I just want to eat your food, like, please. Whereas Kevin is literally like, I'll return the favor. I will work with you, whatever you want to do. You know, I just feel like Kevin's got a better handle on how to campaign in this situation. So I'm sad to do this, but I do think I'm going to have to give Keesha a 2 just because I do think she probably will go home this week. And if she doesn't, it's not really anything she's doing that will save her.
Yeah, I'm with you on this one, Melissa. I feel like it has to be a 2 for Keesha. Like I said, I don't think this is necessarily indicative of like her overall skill level as a player. I'd probably drop it down a bit because now I know that she is not very capable of handling being the first nominee in a house like this. But I do not love where she's at. I would not give her a 1. I tried to reserve 1s for the likes of, you know, the Bellas of the world, and that sort of thing, like people who will just like actively trash their own game and never have a chance to win. And I don't think that Keesha is that. So I have her at a 2 here. But the audience also has her at a 2. Puya, how do you feel?
I also had her at a 2. And I think that I just ultimately, like, I want to call it a spade. Like, you know, you're playing a 1 level game. Like, you're not playing a high rating game. But I didn't want to give anybody a 1. I think especially looking at the caliber of the players there, like I don't think so. I think ultimately we've talked about it at the start, gang. We talked about it at the start. Brent, I'm ready for the paddle. Just let you know. I know it's coming. I'm ready for the debut.
I just don't understand how you can say like the caliber of the play. I feel like her play has been really subpar comparatively to everybody else.
Oh yeah, no, I mean for the house. I don't mean hers. Hers. I just think ultimately we kind of made the points earlier that I think fit the best for her for what is being graded here. This is not the environment for her. This is not the deck of cards that she can play with, and she's proving it by not being able to play with it. And she doesn't show the adaptability that I would have maybe thought she had coming into the season. And I think, you know, Kevin played laps around her as far as campaigning, talking, putting himself in a position where he would be picked and saved in this situation. Keesha just kind of like gave me nostalgia for 2 weeks and then gave me an amazing highlight reel when she came in and excitement. And now I hope we get good Keesha moments on the show, because I have a feeling that this is the last of Keesha that I'm going to be talking about, at least going into the next week. It's sad, but it is what it is too.
I mean, like, this is just terrible from Keesha. So her positioning sucks. She hasn't been entertaining. She hasn't really been trying. I take Taran's point that she doesn't really know she's in trouble, so maybe she doesn't want to do anything. But my God, if it's the All-Stars, do something. And even when she goes, like I saw her go to Tyler like a half hour ago, and she asked Tyler, of all people, do you know what's happening? Tyler's like, no, I don't know what's happening. She's like, you're sure? I'm sure. You have to know he's lying. Do something in the house. Like, it's so frustrating watching somebody who I was so excited to see come back into the house. And for me to have to give her a 1 really sucks. But she's not giving us anything, it really, really bites because I don't even think, like, I know we live in this fantasy universe where she could possibly stay. I don't think it's happening. I think that Kevin's already got the votes. I think that there's no chance she could possibly stay. The only way that I saw that she could potentially stay was Janelle, Kaysar, Ian and Christmas, Davon and Bayleigh, and Memphis. And Ian and Memphis, I don't even think she can get right now. Ian wants to vote to keep Kevin. Memphis doesn't even care if she goes home. So tell me how the hell she's going to stay in the house. Position-wise, she sucks, and she hasn't been doing anything for her cause. Like, if I was her, I'd be like, you know what? My gut's telling me that I am in trouble right now. So I'm going to call out some shit and I'm going to get to the bottom of this. And I'm going to swing for the fences. Okay. I'm going to swing for the fences because if I was safe, people would tell me to my face, I'm safe. You know, they always try to tell the person who's going to stay in case they win HOH that you're safe. But the fact that no one's telling her anything should tell her that she's not safe. That's all she needs to know. And if she was a better player, she would know that. So that's why she gets a 1.
Absolutely. I mean, the conversations with Kevin and people about like, are you voting for me? Am I staying? Am I safe? Whatever, are very different from the conversations that Keesha is having. Like you can absolutely see that when Keesha asks, they say, we don't know. We're going to go with the house. I don't know what the house is doing. Nobody's telling me anything. And with Kevin, it's like, I'm hearing good things that you're going to stay. Like I want to vote for you. I plan on voting for you, but you know, we'll see what the house does.
Just so like Keesha, if you just think about this, like pay it forward. So if you stay in the house and people are telling you, I don't know, like I'm going with the house at this point. Do you really think they're just going to let you live with that and then potentially stay in the house and then you win HOH and then put them up for eviction? No, they're going to say, hey, girl, I gotcha. Like you're good this week. Like she should know. And the fact that she doesn't is so frustrating to me.
The only thing is like, as a discussion point, I mean, like, what do you say to someone if they're like, if everyone you're talking to is just saying, I don't know, nobody's telling me anything, I haven't heard a thing.
You're lying. You're lying. That's what I would say. I would probably blow up and say, you know what? I know you're lying because this is All-Stars. We've all played before. And if you're not telling me that I'm safe, then I know somebody's lying. Somebody tell me the truth right now. What's happening in the house? And somebody would break and say, you know what, Keesha? You're going home.
But then wouldn't that be like, I mean,
no,
would that be beneficial for you? Because then everyone's like, okay, this girl is volatile and she's clearly mad at us.
At least if she has a clear enemy or a clear direction of what she wants to do right now, like she just goes with the status quo. She's just going to have a quiet death. It's like Tammy Ross said in the chat, Keesha has let death take her. And that is what's happened.
Yeah. I mean, there's got to be something. There's got to be something to do.
Well, like there's a reason why a lot of people are looking at it. And like, you know, there's people that love Keesha, are excited. BB10 was their favorite season. We're so happy she's back. But there's a reason why a lot of people are like, well, she clearly came in for the money, for the entrance money, and is about to dip. Like, it's because there's no, you know, enthusiasm. We talked about how David needs to give enthusiasm. Keesha needs to give a damn. And it doesn't look like she does.
Thank you.
And
no, she doesn't. She's here for $40,000. She quit her waitress job, and now she's going to go back home. That's what it looks like. Now, I'm trying to be a little fair to her. Like Taran said, like, you know, I feel like she does give a damn, but it just doesn't feel like it. And, but then again, I looked back at Big Brother 10 and I'm like, my God, like, it wasn't like she was that great of a player. Like, she was constantly outmaneuvered by Dan and Memphis. And the one time that she was on the block, it was obvious that Libra was going to go home over her. And even the HOH wanted Libra to go home over her. So, like, she never had to fight for anything before.
Well, like, I feel like, you know, looking at Keesha, like, especially, like, they're talking in the house a lot about, we've been waiting for someone to screw up, and nobody has. Like, every single season, there's somebody that makes a target of themselves. They get themselves evicted week 1. It's entirely their fault. Think about Joey from season 16. Maybe she deserves a 1. Think about Jose from season 18. Maybe he deserves a 1.
My winner pick, yes.
Right? But, like, Keesha came in and she was disadvantaged. She came in one of the only people that was not able to pregame. She didn't really do anything particularly wrong. It was just kind of a random snipe. And like, no, she's not helping herself, but she's also not killing herself. She's not like completely ruining her chances by being bombastic and like getting everyone pissed off. I actually could see a scenario where Cody finds out that Kevin and Nicole Anthony have been scheming, and that he's actually with that crew over there, and like, hey, maybe he wants to target him, or target somebody close to him. And you know what? I don't actually care that much. Maybe we should flip over to Keesha. I think that's completely within the realm of possibility in the next couple of days. And that's because it is so... It's not like it's a slam dunk to send Keesha home. It's not like everybody wants her gone. So I personally don't feel like she deserves the one. And I feel like, of all the first boots of all the seasons, I think she's far from the worst. I think the thing that is frustrating is that it's boring. I think that's the killer, is that, like, she's not a Jose, she's not a Joey, she's boring us, and that's frustrating. But game wise, I'm not at a 1. All right, let's talk about Kevin, our other person on the block here. Kevin, he's in some trouble. Like I said, I think it's feasible that the vote could flip another way here. Brent, how do you feel about it?
I looked and I gave Kevin a 4, and I feel relatively good about Kevin's chances if he gets out of this week, and I believe that he will. Most people in the house seem to enjoy him. I do think that I don't like his general positioning, but in general, it's mostly on account of Nicole Anthony, because she went and spilled some of the things that Janelle said about Kevin and ran it back to him right away after Janelle told her not to. So now it looks like Kevin knows that Janelle was campaigning for Keesha, when in actuality, like, Kevin probably needs somebody like Janelle in the house, like, in order for him to do some damage. So I don't love that. But on the other hand, like, he's done a good job of making the HOH feel like, hey, I mean, inside he's got to be burning that Cody put him up after he had that talk with him. But on the outside, he's been pretty cool about it and made Cody feel great. And that has trickled out to Cody's allies. And now it looks like Kevin's going to stay. And if he stays, then he's got new life in the game. So I gave a 4.
Yeah, I'm at a 4 as well, and that's just because I know Kevin is a capable player. I feel pretty confident about him staying, but like I said, anything could happen here. Here's the thing, though, and I talked about this on the update, I think this morning. No player who was nominated in week 1 and faced a vote has ever gone on to win the game. The only winner who was even nominated at all in week 1 was Steve, and he won the veto to take himself off the block, and that's what saved him from that vote. No other winner has ever even been nominated, and that includes Big Brother Canada. It's a big disadvantage, I think, to be out of the loop, essentially, to be out of the rest of the group, to be singled out for that first crucial week. And now I do think that there are a couple of things that can help him out here. First is that it was only 1 week and not 2. And so he hasn't been the first nominee for 2 weeks. It's only been 1. So he will have a little bit of a chance. And also, this is an all-star season. There are pre-existing relationships. So it's the week 1 stuff isn't maybe quite as valuable, and like I said, I think he's a capable player, so I don't think he's like dead in the water. I don't think it's a death sentence, but I do think it's a big disadvantage, and you can see how much he has missed out on here in the week. So 4 from me. Melissa, how do you feel?
Yeah, I'm gonna give Kevin a 3. I'm a little worried about him moving forward. It seems like he doesn't really have he has people who like him and who want him to stay this week, but I don't necessarily see that he has a lot of people who want to work with him. And I'm also worried about the fact that he initially, I don't know if this is still the case, but it's still is a little worrisome to me that he was like, okay, when I'm off this block, I'm targeting Kaysar and Janelle, which is like, you should not be targeting them. You should be trying to work with that side of the house, or at least it's not even a side. It's literally just everyone else outside of the majority alliance. And everyone who's been put into these different, different groupings in this majority alliance, everybody who's not in that should be trying to do something together. And the fact that he's already I'm going to target those people is a little worrisome in regards to his read on the house. So that's why I'm giving him a 3 and not anything higher.
All right. The audience gave Kevin a 4. Puya, do you agree?
I personally had a 3 down, but I think a 4 makes sense ultimately. I do think that, you know, Kevin kind of just erupted into like this ball of emotions after being put up. And I think a lot of us coming into the season were rating Kevin at a higher position because we were expecting to get the Jeff Slayer. We're waiting to see that Kevin that we saw make his way to the final 3 in season 11. And I think that I don't doubt that Kevin is still there, which actually, if I'm being a broker and I'm trying to help you out, I feel like Kevin's a bargain buy should Kevin survive. But we have to acknowledge the facts that Kevin is still to this moment is having a lot of reactions, strong negative reactions towards what has happened, and has kind of lost footing a little bit, has kind of being looked at weaker, is kind of being perceived weaker, and that's not a good position to be in. Then you talk about the statistics with the first week. Taran, you brought up the whole like not winning, being on the block that first week. If you look at that, that's not good. But then if the perception of him is going lower, that's not good. He needs to find a footing. He has some decent social connections, which is what I rate, which is why I'm saying I'm okay with a 4, given that Kaysar's a 3. He has a good social connection, decent social connection with Nicole Anthony, with Davon. He's positioned in a way where he's going to get scooped up. He could be in a position where if there's a swing against that bigger majority type alliance or the big heavy hitters, he's someone you want to bring in. That's a good spot for him to be in. So I think moving forward, should Kevin survive this week and be in a good position to repair and not play from defense, not play from I have to campaign for my life and just get to do social game for a week, I think Kevin can bounce back week 3 and be just all right and can be back in the picture because I trust Kevin's gameplay. I trust Kevin's capabilities, but he definitely needs to snap out of what has consumed him this past week. But I think good purchase in the future.
Yeah, so 4 overall for Kevin. This is something I've been meaning to do, but I forgot to do it. We'll go back briefly to do this. I actually had a preseason survey to ask the audience to rate the players based strictly on their game prior to the season starting. Kevin was given a 7 by the audience. He was given a 4 by the audience this week and a 4 overall average this week. So it's downhill for Kevin. Memphis is up next. Let's start with Brent. How do you feel about Memphis?
Give him a 6. He's trying his best. He's trying to fit an old school strategy into a new school way, and it's looking kind of cool. I loved your tweet about the steampunk thing on Twitter, Taran. I thought that was really well done. Memphis is cracking me up, dude. Like, I don't know if you guys saw the picture on the second day. Puya, did you see the picture of Memphis? Like huddled up with all the layers on top of him because he was so cold. He looked like an old man
with no neck, just all scarf and blanket. Yep.
He looked like 55, dude. It looks crazy. It cracked me up. It's a 6 for me. I think he's I don't want to be verbose about it, but he's well liked in the house to the point where I don't think anybody, in fact, I think nobody is targeting him right now. He's somebody that is well liked by everybody and people generally just get along with. So until that changes, I feel like he's on a good path in the Big Brother house.
All right, Melissa.
I would have given him a 6, but this live feed stuff that's going on is making me go a little lower, but just to a 5. I am interested in what he's doing. He seemed to be involved in that big alliance, although now it seems to me that Tyler and Cody and even Crispus are kind of like, well, that's not real. It's not legit. Like, kind of talking down on it, which I did not think was the case. So I'm a little worried because it seems like it's an alliance to Memphis only, possibly. So we'll see where it goes from here. But I am a little nervous because I think that he's playing it wrong and that he shouldn't be distancing himself or I feel like he's getting rid of an ally or a potential ally this week. I think he should have worked harder to keep Keesha and not try and throw her under the bus, really. Like, he was like, okay, please leave. Like, it's disappointing because that could have been something. He didn't have to work with her directly, but it could have been a thing where it was like, hey, like, we were on the same season. We have each other's back. Like, we don't need to work. Like, together as a pair, but we have each other. We have this connection. And instead he's like, okay, bye, Keesha. Like, please leave. So, I am just a little disappointed, but it does seem like he's setting himself up well on the other side of the house. So I'm giving him a 5.
I'm in the exact same spot, Melissa. Actually, I was planning on giving Memphis a 6, but Tyler being anti this group and kind of like shading Memphis is just the nail in the coffin on the 6 rating for me, because I like Memphis. I think he's a smart player, but I don't think Memphis fits in very well. In the same way that I don't think Keesha fits in very well to this cast. I think they both fit into their cast at the time they played, at the age they were. But right now, he is old man Memphis, and he is playing a steampunk game while everyone else is playing a sci-fi game. It's not a good fit. And he's trying to make it fit, but it's not fully there. I don't think he's in a bad spot right now. I think he's fine for a while, but the longevity is where I don't see it from him, and this alliance not being solid is bad news for the longevity for Memphis. So for me, it is a 5. Puya, the audience agreed. They went with a 5 as well. What are your thoughts?
We are on the same page. So I think, to speak on this, it's like Memphis is playing the game. It's like when you were in university and you had the first edition of the textbook, and then they give you the syllabus and it's now on the 3rd edition, and it's like the same book, but like some parts of it are different and just not the same anymore, and the graphs are outdated. So that's kind of what I'm getting with him. Sure, it would have worked maybe 4 years ago, but this is 2020 and you're not playing it right. I do think that I came into the season not really feeling Memphis. I'm feeling Memphis a little bit more now. But there are still, day by day, that is going back down to what I was feeling preseason. So I'm feeling vindicated on that. I do think that Memphis's decision to kind of like leave Keesha to the Wolves and believe that, oh, I can get there, I can do my own thing, I can make it, is all well and good if you're a player like Derek, who's able to kind of 21 jump street himself. And there is no way Memphis is going to do the same thing and be one of the youngins. There's no way. The closest person to be able to emulate that is going to be Enzo. And I do not think Memphis, with his complaining about the cold, and if you wanted to be tortured, I'd go to Canada. It's like, that is the most dated thing you could say. Your behavior is screaming older. There is no way you're going to be able to play younger. So I think playing to his strengths is something he should be doing. And I think believing that he's doing a good job when it's kind of like average is not great. We'll see where he goes from here. I think 5 is good because, again, depending on what happens next week, he could either go up or down, but he's just kind of there now.
He's a little crotchety, isn't he?
Yeah. Yeah. Like,
I think I would have liked to see him try to broker something between Keesha and Cody, to try to keep Keesha. Tell her to, like, look, you got to ditch Kaysar and Janelle for now at least, and like, let's just try and pull you in. Cody doesn't have that much of a preference. We can try and make this work. I can say
really
I've got
didn't.
you.
Yeah.
He didn't do anything.
I think
He
that
pushed
would
her
have
out the door.
I think that would have been a better move. I think part of it might be that he's worried about her, that this is a wild card that he's like taking out of the equation, because at some point he was probably expecting her to stab him before he did her. Looking at it now, I think he needed her, and I don't think he realizes that he needed her. So we'll see. But the audience was at a 6 for Memphis prior to the season. They are at a 5 now, and he's a 5 average overall. So a slight decline for Memphis's status. Nicole Anthony is up next, and I do not feel good about Nicole Anthony. No. Multiple reasons. Podcast drama. She was sick for a few days. She's left out of a lot of things. Her reads are astronomically out of place.
So bad.
The few people that are trying to work with her, or some of the few people that are trying to work with her, Janelle and Kaysar, she just like flat out doesn't trust for like no reason.
No reason.
I have to go, and she is being mentioned as a target,
yes,
as a person to go up on the block as early as next week. I have to go to a 3 for Nicole Anthony. I almost went with a 2, but she's not that. She's got a chance to turn it around. It's week 1. So, Puya, Nicole Anthony, the audience says a 4.
Of course they did. Like,
we're being too kind to her as the audience. I would have given a 3 as well. I did in my thing. So here's the thing with Nicole. It's like I wanna root for her. I wanna like her, but coming into the season was like, you know, she's gonna be in a not great position. She's gonna be like an underdog. She's gonna be playing from the bottom a little bit. But I feel like they gave her many chances this week to be like, hey, Nicole, here's all the information you need. Here's all the deets. And Nicole takes it and then just chucks it and like doesn't use it and then uses it incorrectly. It's so frustrating to see when all she needed to do was be good socially, be in a good position, work with people, take them in, and just be a part of them. Be a part of them. That's all you need. And I think all she's doing is becoming an information funnel and giving information to people when they already didn't respect her game, when they're already looking at her and they're already not loving life seeing her there. She literally, if this veto was used, she'd be the one up there. So that's not a good position to be in. And then to kind of like be not respected all that much, and then you're coming in as one of the last people from the last season. Like, you needed to be in a good position. And I think all she's done is actively put herself in a bad spot. And the crazy thing is, I don't think anyone outwardly hates her. No one dislikes her. No one it's just this feeling of like, I could play the game without her and I'll be fine. And that's not good when so many people are doing it. And then when the two people that are like, hey, come hither, play with us, you're just taking their information and giving it to the people that want you out, that you're expended to. It's a bad read. It's a bad time.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I would give her a 3 as well. I'm very disappointed. You know, it's frustrating because when you see her in a conversation with people, I think she does really well. I think that she's very good at making that person feel good about your conversation and that you want to work with them and that she's like on your side and like you guys have a connection. And I feel like she's very good at that. The frustrating thing is what comes after that conversation. So she takes that good conversation and then just like immediately like tosses it in the garbage, either by just being like, yeah, no, I don't trust that person at all. Like that was, you know, we're not working together. Or it's that she'll go to the people that were talked about and just immediately spill the beans. So it's really not good. And then, you know, the fact that it doesn't seem like she recognizes like who is in what alliance and not only that, it's not only like, oh, I don't really know what's going on. It's like she actively is like thinking the wrong thing. Like, it's not even just like, I'm a little confused. It's like, she's like, I know that it's Janelle and Tyler. And it's like, no, it's not. What are you talking about? So yeah, she's not doing it for me this season, but I hope she turns it around.
Yeah, I hope she does too. I think that the reason she's able to connect with people when she actually takes the time to talk with them is that she's actually a really great person. Like Taran said it best at the end of BB21 when he got a chance to interview her. He was like you're actually somebody who we rooted for. Like we really wanted to get a chance to know. And he was so touched and they hugged and it was great and we loved it. It was a great moment. But my God, she is not that good of a game player, especially early when she doesn't have her feet under her. It's really frustrating watching her. And I have to say, let it be said, I have talked with Eric from Reality Recaps in the past. He's a cool guy. He's a little messy like me. But him having a problem with Nicole Franzel and Nicole Franzel having a problem with Eric, people are like, oh, well, that's too bad for Nicole Anthony. No, it's not. It is not too bad for her. It was her fault, Nicole Anthony's fault, that she didn't put out that fire sooner. Like Nicole Franzel came to her and said, hey, I think I have a drama with your guy. He doesn't like me. And she could reasonably infer that Nicole Franzel might not feel good about her. The fact that she might put her up for nomination if she wins HOH. Nicole Anthony I'm talking about. But Nicole Anthony did jack to change that perception. She did nothing. I watched that conversation. It was just like, hee hee, ho hoo. Like she was all awkward about it. And then, you know, like talking to the cameras, Nicole Anthony's like lighting her up, going, don't do that. Don't do that. I don't want to hear that. Well, why don't you actually do something like talking to us doesn't do shit for you, lady. Like, what are you trying to do? Do something within the game. Put out that fire. Maybe she doesn't even know that is a fire. But if she doesn't know that's a fire, that's an even bigger indictment on her game. So I gave her a 2.
Yeah, it's so frustrating. Like she has the connections. Like she has the ability to be in power right now. Like she said on like night 2 of the feeds, Tyler hasn't come and talked to me yet. I've been waiting for Tyler to come and talk to me and say, hey, we're both friends with Ovi. Let's work together. Why haven't you talked to Tyler?
Ding!
Why haven't you talked to these people? If she was in with Tyler right now, I would feel so good about her because she'd be in Tyler's like crew, and Tyler's like a safe haven for anybody not Cody and Dani right now. And like if she was even in more with Devon and them, and she was with that group more, I'd feel better about her. But she's like off on her own right now, and Janelle and Kaysar are reaching out to her to try to be allies, and she's pushing them away like she wants to be an underdog or something.
Right? It's like that's where she feels comfortable or something.
It's annoying. But David Alexander has been watching this podcast from the house, and he is not pleased with us. He said, Alexa, sorry, actually, I won't say it out loud. I want to screw you guys up. He said, please play Fake Love by Drake. Mostly directed at, it's Melissa, though. Betrayal.
I'm sorry.
She calls him as she sees him.
Yeah. Hey, if I got more confidence, like if I got some sort of indication that he was watching seasons or studying or doing something to prepare, I'd feel a lot better. If this is all just like, laying low for the first week, but I don't know.
Yeah. So Nicole Anthony, prior to the season started, was a 6 from the audience. She's now down to a 3 overall, 4 from the audience. So she is not faring well. Nicole Franzel is up next. Let's talk about Franzel. Can we do it? Puya? How do we feel about Franzel? The audience feels Franzel is a 6. What do you think, Puya?
Oof, what a heavy task the audience has given me. Okay, let me sit up for this one. So Franzel, 6 is fair score. If Franzel maintained the level that Franzel came and maintained the ammunition that Franzel came and maintained the relationships that Franzel came in, a 6 is a given. A 6 would be a poor score, if anything. Here's the problem. Franzel is not as slick as Franzel thinks. Franzel is playing I don't know what's happening, I'm dumb, with the whole Cody relationship. It's very see-through. Playing dumb with the whole like insecurity of, hey, like, do you think anyone's talking about the winners? Like, yes, duh. Obviously, that's probably going to be a thing. Playing dumb with that. I did hear, and I am very sorry. I know someone brought this up on one of the podcasts, blessed with coverage, by the way, that the thing about Franzel bringing up the winner thing is a good thing. Maybe it was you, Taran. It's a good thing because, like, now it's like she's the one putting it out there. Sure, it's great, but you gotta like play the role well. I feel like this, and like the emotions, all the tears that are coming out, and this has 0 to let me be frank with you, right? Not BB 14, 18 frank. Let me just be frank with you. Yes, the Franzel thing, the crying thing, what I'm saying has nothing to do with how I feel about Franzel. It literally, the tears and all of that stuff. She is the one house guest that I'm looking at that if they were to like feel some type of way of like, listen, I'm just putting you up because I'm exhausted. It's Franzel. She's literally putting herself in a position where I can very much see her alienating her allies and very much making herself become expendable to her allies when it shouldn't be the case because she's got all the connections. And that bothers me a lot. If she was to dial that back, remove that energy, come back in with the bad energy, the evil energy, the snake energy that people know her for, that people have called her out for, I think she'll be earning that 6. But to be honest with you, I don't think it's a 6 given what we're seeing right now. But we said 6 as the audience because we think Franzel's capable of a 6 down the line.
All right, Brent, I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
I mean, I felt like I was pretty fair to her, and honestly, there's not a lot for me to like about her game. I'm really trying. I think that there are positive aspects of her game, and I'll give it to her. Like, I agree with something that you noted on one of the live feed updates, Taran, which is the fact that she's such a whiner and such a paranoid person that actually works to her advantage some of the time. Like, being so paranoid does make her a very adept player, but on the other hand, she shoots herself in the foot so much of the time with so much of the paranoia. Like, she creates her own fires and then puts them out, and then we call her a damn hero. Like, that doesn't work that way. I gave her a 4. I really can't stand her. Like, I know that there's some people who are like, you know what? It's not cool to hate on Nicole Franzel on the Big Brother feeds. I'm allowed to hate on Nicole Franzel. I've got to listen to her on the goddamn Big Brother live feeds. Just so you're clear, these opinions are not shared by Melissa, Puya, and Taran, but I myself, I can't stand Nicole Franzel, and I don't understand what production person decided that somebody who sounds like this is good for television one more time, but here we go again.
All right, Melissa.
Yeah, I'm intrigued by Nicole, really. I feel like I want something from her, and I feel like we can get it, but I feel like we're also not getting it. I want, like we've always said, her to be the villain we know she can be, and her to own her game and own all her stuff and own her betrayals and own, like, you know, and basically just say that, oh, these mood swings and this like emotion is all for game, but I don't think the emotion is. And here's the thing is, I want to be like, oh, she needs to like stop that. That's enough. You know, she's alienating herself and alienating other people with all this emotional like baggage. But I can't guarantee that I wouldn't like be very emotional the whole time and like crying all the time for no reason. And like, I don't know what I would do. But I will say that like, that is a concern. People are off put by that. And even her allies, even Cody, and Dani were talking and saying that like, this is going to be a problem. This is just and they were just like, this is just the way that she is, but can we play with this? And that is concerning. I mean, I feel like in the past, maybe she's used her emotions as more of a weapon. And now I feel like she's not doing that. She's basically just like being emotional, but not using it for a specific purpose. And that is not very good moving forward. You don't want an ally who is unpredictable and emotional and you have to reassure all the time. It gets exhausting. I'm sure people are going to be exhausted by it. So I have to give her a 5 just because I do feel like she's positioned herself well so far, but that could change.
Melissa, did you see the talk that Dani had with Nicole earlier today where she was like,
you are beautiful. Like, you are amazing.
Girl, get a hold of yourself.
Smart.
Yeah.
You are amazing.
That's what the gist of it was.
Yeah. It's like, oh my God. Not good if you're already needing a pep talk week 1. It hasn't even been 1 eviction and you're not on the block.
And an ally's in power.
Yeah, an ally's in power. You're not on the block. Like, I don't know.
Here's the thing about Franzel. She has a lot of power. She's clearly she's gotten to Rob in the chat. Rob all of a sudden talking like, oh my God, I know that Brent guy hates me. I mean, that doesn't sound like Rob to me. That sounds like a certain other Nicole that we know. That's all I'm gonna say. She has a lot of power.
Rob's been compromised.
I actually think the audience is spot on with this one. I'm actually feeling the 6. I think that she's up there in terms of safety and influence and like just being in the power structure. She knows the game. She knows it well. She was one of the first people to like jump out of the gates. She reached out to Ian and she's got Ian. That's a valuable piece to have. And she probably will sit next to Ian and Ian probably will go home before her. And no, she doesn't really have the respect of her allies, Cody, Enzo. But like, I don't think it matters. I don't think it matters right now. I really don't. I think that this is the Nicole Franzel that we saw on season 18, and it really worked for her for a long time. And I think it's actually it's an improved version of it as well. That said, I think the thing that will kill Nicole Franzel in this game, even if she does find the success that she has before, is that she's not going to be able to face a Paul in the final 2. I think that's what's going to get her. I think that part of what gets her far in the game is that she is so paranoid, is that she is running around with wide eyes, because people look at her and they're like, she's not a winner. This is Nicole Franzel.
Did you see when Memphis forgot that she was a winner?
Yes, she can't. She can barely hold herself together, so she's not really worth targeting. But she's so much more dangerous than that in the game, and she is capable of like screwing people over, and that's her strength in the game. But I think it will come back to bite her in the end, even if she does make it there, because this time she's going to be up against somebody else who probably has played really well. She can't sit next to Ian in the final two. That's a disaster. I don't think she can sit next to Cody. I don't think she can sit next to Dani. I think even Enzo could probably beat her in a final two. Like, I think she's looking around and she's gonna have to bring like a Christmas or a David. Like, she has a hard time finding people that she can beat in the end, I think, and that's gonna be tricky for her. And she's also facing stronger, tougher competition in this season. So I think she's in a great spot right now. She is being targeted by maybe Janelle, maybe Nicole Anthony, and in those situations I could see her going on the block, but like we've talked about, she probably doesn't go home quite yet. So all that said, I think 6 is probably appropriate for now, but we'll see. Let's move on to Tyler. Finally, let's talk about Tyler. Let's start with you, Melissa. How do you feel about Tyler?
This is a tricky one because, like you said earlier, I was going to rate Tyler pretty low coming into this just because I felt like he's kind of been on the outs a little bit. Like people wanted to work with him, but he wasn't really getting that solid, like, okay, we are working together. And then he was kind of like pulled into this Memphis thing. And I kind of thought like, maybe he doesn't really have like a solid read on like what's going on at this point, and is kind of just like going with the wind and not really like, doesn't really have a plan and is kind of floundering. But, you know, after hearing this conversation, at least from what I've gleaned a little bit from Twitter, you know, with Christmas and then with Cody, it's like he's not for this Memphis alliance. And, you know, if anything, he's like putting in a good word for Kaysar with Cody. And like, maybe he's not trying to just like be a number for Cody and Enzo's giant monstrosity. Maybe he actually like is going to do his own thing. And that's pretty promising for me. I mean, that's an exciting prospect. If Tyler comes around and is like, you know, like, I'm gonna take on this game and I am not going to just like be a number, I will be so for it. I'm already getting excited thinking about it. So I can't give him a great score yet, just because like I don't feel like he has any really solid bonds or solid alliances. Sure, he went around getting final twos with everyone, but like I don't know if any of those are really real. So, you know, I'm gonna be a little cautious and give him a 5.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I also gave him a 5, and I'm glad to hear you say that. The thing that I think that is eventually going to trip him up, and look, I'll own my shit. I said the same thing on Big Brother 20. He never got caught, and eventually my rating did rise for him. But I'll never forget the night that Caitlin Herman went home with the puzzle, and I was sitting there saying, like, you know, Tyler is going to get caught. I'm pretty low on Tyler, and then, like, he never got caught. But this time he's playing with All-Stars, and he's being really sloppy about the way that he makes a lot of these final twos. He makes them, uses the same words over and over to the same people. Like, if just one of those sets of people compares notes and says, so what did Tyler say to you? Like, we're going to run it to the end. We're both of us till the end. Like, and I know a lot of people say that, but he says it like the same way all the time with many different people. I have to believe that he's going to be in trouble. And these people they should be scared to death of him after the game that he played on Big Brother 20. They're not scared of him right now. I guess they've got bigger fish to fry, and maybe that will pay dividends for him in the end. But for right now, I feel like he's not made anything solid. I still don't know exactly what his plan is. I think maybe he might be kind of proud and be like, I don't want to do what I just did on Big Brother 20. Like, I want to show I can do something else. So I'm not going to just create like a 6-person alliance. But I feel like he kind of needs it to survive.
This is my problem. This is my problem. I feel like I feel like I'm being pretty fair with Tyler, but you guys make me look like I'm crazy with Tyler. Same thing with Franzel. Like, the audience gave Franzel a 6. I'm on board with the audience, but you guys are lower on Franzel, so I'm the Franzel defender. And now you guys are both 5s on Tyler. I was like so excited to give Tyler one of the lowest ratings I've ever given him, which is a 7 now. Like, oh God, I don't love what he's doing. I think he's a more talented player than we're seeing on in this week, but like he's not a 5. I mean,
Taran's like, it's all your fault.
It's not a 5. He's got a bunch of individual connections. This thing with Christmas is super valuable. He's in with Bay. He's got the thing with David. He's in there with, he's got a relationship with Franzel now. He's working more on Cody, which I think is going to be super valuable for him. I think that Cody would prefer to work with Tyler over Enzo. Tyler's the first person Cody went to. I can't give Tyler anything higher than a 7 right now. Because I don't know what this Cody-Tyler relationship is going to look like. Tyler might have missed the boat on this one, but I do think that that Tyler is in a good position right now. I don't think anybody is really going to be gunning for him anytime soon. If they do, I think that there are a lot of different ways that he can protect himself, and I like what I'm seeing in terms of lying low. This is the problem. I was so ready to come in here and just dog Tyler's game, but now I'm the guy who's highest on Tyler. I'm really frustrated watching Tyler, honestly. Right. I really feel like he's not playing hard enough. I think that he should have been working on Cody earlier. I think that he missed out. Like, he missed some opportunities. And if he gets in with Cody now, fine. But like, he should have been there earlier. He should have been in the main thing. The relationship that he's developing with Dani is so weird. Dani has been trying to get through to him, and he keeps shutting her down. And it's because we now know he doesn't trust her, which is fine, but like, you need to give them something, and that's what Cody has been asking for. It's what Dani's asking for. Like, they want something from him to feel okay, and it's good that he's finally giving it to Cody. That's why I can feel comfortable giving him a 7. It might have been a 6 without that conversation, but he needs to start doing it more. And I think that he needs to be more active. That's what he's good at. If he's not active, people will think that he is, and he won't have anything to show for it. And I think that's a huge disadvantage to have in the game, coming in with the reputation that Tyler does. So I am pretty low on where Tyler stands right now. I think that there is still a lot of potential here. And he still has his thumb on the pulse of a lot of what's happening. So I would not underestimate him, but I think he could be doing much better in the game. So it's going to be a 7 from me. Puya, cap us off here. The audience came very close to giving him a 7, but they actually ended up going with a 6.
That works out for me. And given especially that it's going to end up being the average price set anyways. I do think that the biggest reason, because we all know, right? Tyler doesn't Tyler still hold the record for best first week rating of all time?
Yeah, now he does, because I docked Cody and Dani because of Tyler. He just protected his own legacy.
So like, we know he's capable of playing well. I think that a little bit of the non-committal stuff is why he comes down lower for me, for the audience, for Melissa, for Brent. Like, just, it's all well and good to like say yes to everything. We've all talked about how when you're given a deal, say yes. When you're doing a thing, say yes. Always be enthusiastic. But when it starts being repetitive cookie cutter answers, one note comparison could land you in trouble. I think that the fact that Cody kept saying stuff like, oh, he's a comp thrower, like that's the thing that I'm concerned about. And he was throwing jabs like to other people, being like, Cody seems like he's going to align with the bros. I thought that there was going to be like a feud coming soon anyways with them. But I thought that Cody would be having the upper hand there because of how fast and loose Tyler was playing. Obviously, I do like the fact that for some reason, Tyler operates like he's in the middle of a double eviction every night, every time he's strategizing, because he does all his work in like 45 minutes and then he just goes to sleep again. So like, I do like that he probably has the most final 2s in the house currently. That's nice. I think I trust that the Christmas one is the most authentic and the strongest one. I think he's rightfully picked someone that he can take out, beat. I think his connection with Bayleigh's good, but I do think he needs to fortify them further. And if the indication coming from tonight's situation is that he's talking to Cody, that's a great link for him to maintain, because if he's able to get something going there, that brings him into the lot more conversations and a lot more connections going forward. So I think this is the right place to put him for now. I will say we have a new bargain purchase for the week based on what I'm seeing. Just my 2 cents as a member of the audience.
There you go. So it's going to be a 6 overall for Tyler. Going in, before the season started, Tyler did have a 9 from the audience. So he did drop from a 9 to a 6. Although it really, again, it was very close to a 7. So not quite as dramatic as it looks. So that's where Tyler was. Nicole, by the way, started at a 7 and is now at a 6 with the audience. Bayleigh started at a 4 and has moved up to a 7 and an 8 overall. Christmas started at a 3 and has moved up to a 5 from the audience and 5 overall. Cody started at a 7 and is down to a 6 from the audience, which is weird to me, but a 7 overall. Dani started at an 8 and is now a 7 from the audience, which also is weird to me because I think she's also playing the best she's ever played. But she is an 8 overall. David was a 4 and remains a 4. Davon was a 5, just barely, and is now a 6. Enzo was a 6 before the season and is now still a 6 from the audience, but has moved up to a 7 overall. Ian was an 8 from the audience prior to the season starting. He has dropped down to a 5 from the audience and a 4 overall. Janelle was an 8 from the audience as well. Prior to the season starting, she has dropped down to a 5 and a 5 overall. And Kaysar was a 6 and is now a 5 from the audience, 4 overall. And then Keesha was a 6 and is down to a 2 from the audience and a 2 overall. So that's where they have gone. Obviously, Ian and Janelle, the biggest drops, along with Keesha, which is, I think, not super surprising. I think those are the 2, Ian and Janelle, that I would have said are a little overrated in those preseason ratings. So that's what we had there. Let's run through. We're over 3 hours now. Let's run through just quickly some of these other things from the survey, just to give you guys the answers. Prior to the season, I also did player rankings in terms of who's your favorite. Dani was at the top of the favorite player rankings prior to the season starting. She has fallen to 5th place on the player rankings. So not too dramatic.
No, that's not too bad.
But she has dropped. Janelle was in 2nd place. She is now in 1st. Kaysar was actually down in 6th at the start of the season and has moved up to 2nd place. Davon was in 5th place and is now in 3rd. Ian was 4th in both polls, maintained his status there. We have a big jump here. Bayleigh was 2nd to last prior to the season starting.
Shade.
2nd to last. She is now 6th overall.
Wow.
So big jump in the favorite player rankings this week for Bayleigh. Tyler was 3rd prior to the season starting. He is now 7th, below Bayleigh. Right? Enzo was down near the bottom. Looks like maybe 10th or 11th overall. He's now 8th. He had a small jump. Nicole Anthony was in 7th. She has fallen down to 9th. And then we have people like Kevin Campbell around the same. Keesha around the same. Keesha did fall a few places. She's toward the bottom now. Cody has fallen a little bit. Memphis is exactly the same. David is exactly the same. Christmas managed to, she went from very last to just leapfrogging over Franzel, who is now dead last in the ratings, the flavor player rankings. Prior to that, she was 12th. Yes.
Interesting.
So there you go. Sorry, usually we have a little more time to really go into detail with that. Overall, people rated the episodes of this week a 6.2. The feeds, they gave a 6.9, and the season as a whole so far, a 7.3. That's pretty good.
That's high.
It's pretty high. Yeah. People are feeling good. I also feel very good about the season so far. I'm really enjoying the All-Star season. I feel like the gameplay level is high. I'm really excited about the mature conversations that I'm seeing on the feeds.
Yes.
I love watching Kaysar. I love watching all of these people. It's so much fun. I'm really, really enjoying myself.
It is so nice to have an older cast.
Yeah.
I absolutely think that's part of the reason. Like, I don't think it's just like, oh, these are all stars, like whatever. I think that the fact that we have an older cast overall is, I think it totally changes the vibe and totally changes the conversations that you have. And I think it influences the gameplay as well.
Mm-hmm. I asked strategically, who should Cody have targeted this week? Top
Tyler.
choice.
Oh.
Was not Tyler. Top choice was actually my top choice. Ian Terry. People think he should have gone after Ian. And then I actually forgot to take Kaysar and Janelle off the block because they were safe, so they don't count. But they were 2 and 3. Keesha was the next highest, and then Tyler was the third highest if you subtract Kaysar and Janelle. I asked people how they felt about the safety suite twist. And this is, I think, the highest rated twist I have ever seen in the history of the Stockwatch polling.
Yeah, I like it.
67 out of 100.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the fact that it's also
50. It beat average. I don't think I've ever seen that.
No. I think also the fact that it's not permanent for the whole game, I think is also helpful. Like, they've specifically said it's only for this amount of time. It's not going to like totally take over the game and put a whole new dynamic in it. It's just for these first couple weeks or first 3 weeks or whatever that a few people or like 2 people each week can be safe. Yeah. And like, there's so many other targets. Yeah. So it's not like, oh no, this is such a big deal. It's literally like, okay, it's a possibility that the target that the HOH wants to get out will be safe, but like, there's so many other people.
Like Taran said, it's one of the few twists that really helps the minority. This isn't a twist that helps the majority. Like Camp Comeback last year really helped keep the majority alliance together, because even if they had the audacity to go after one of their own, they couldn't because that person was stuck in the house with them. So they'd blab everything about what was the goings on of the inner workings of the alliance and where all the bodies are buried. So all twists are not made equal, and this is one twist that, even though it helps my specific favorites, I can get behind. I also
again, should be worth noting, yes, Keesha had the ability to play in this, but Keisha's almost definitely not going home if not for this twist. Just worth pointing out.
I still don't know how she didn't play.
Well, like, given that conversation with Janelle too, I was convinced that was going to happen.
We never really got an explanation on that. We never heard her say, this is why I didn't play. I just would have loved to hear what the hell she was thinking. Like, if Kaysar and Janelle play, they're probably going to both save each other. How can you not play?
Well, they rang the buzzer at the very last second.
Well, she could have followed Janelle right behind. I know Big Brother would have let them. Like, if they're all standing in line there, like with 5 seconds to go, they're gonna let them.
Like, sorry, no, you were in line.
I think if she had more time to think about it, she might have played. But who knows? Who do you want to be evicted this week? 61% say Keesha.
Keesha. Yep, I knew it.
Keesha. Yep. And then I also included, who do you want to win HOH next week?
Kaysar.
Janelle, number one. Kaysar, close number 2. They made up 70% of the vote together. Tyler is the next option, followed by Ian, and then everyone else is pretty much negligible. So I agree. I think Tyler would be an interesting one. But Janelle and Kaysar would be the most interesting. Ian would also be interesting, though.
Who would Tyler target?
That's it. I don't know.
It would be interesting because I have no idea.
Intrigue.
All right. So that was the survey. Anything else we got to talk about here?
So just to be clear, originally, Chad, correct me if I'm wrong, you gave Cody and Dani 9s, and they've now corrected it to 8. So everything is correct.
8s. Yes.
Okay, cool. All right.
Yes. So yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like if I had rated Cody on like Friday, I would have given him like 7, and like Sunday maybe might have been an 8, and then today it was a 9, and then something changed and it was an 8. Like that's how fluid these things are.
That's how it is. Yeah, but everybody has the same information, so yeah.
All right, so that's what we have for the Stock Watch. I apologize for the lengthy runtime on this one, but
I don't mean to ask a question, but just to be clear, like soon after this ends, the realitystockwatch.com will be live.
Yes.
Okay.
So you can go to realitystockwatch.com. The here we go. I think it might. I don't want to say it already if it's not. Here we go. The ratings and the prices are in. Here we go.
Nice.
These are the players. These are the prices. You can also look at the projections if that's working, and see where the prices will go depending on the rating they receive next week. So this is all according to a formula that is extremely complicated. So don't ask. But you can see the result of it here. So there's nothing hidden. You can see exactly where the price will be if somebody gets a rating. So if you're watching here on the video, if Christmas, who is currently at $5, gets a 7 rating overall next week, then she will increase by 32% and be worth $6.60 next week. So you will make a profit on her if you do that and she goes up. And if she goes down, that she'll go down. So that's the projections tab on the site. And you should be able to buy and sell either now or soon. Please be patient if the site crashes, because there's already been a ton of people signing up, and
everyone's on it right
idea.
now. So I'd come back later. I can't get on it right now.
But yes, just check in whenever you can. realitystockwatch.com. You can create an account or log into your previous.
This is so snazzy. I love it. Yeah, yes. I got to see the projections page.
Yes, and so the trading window will close when the episode starts on Thursday. So at 8 p.m. Eastern, I think it is, on Thursday. You can no longer submit any buying or selling. I would also not wait until the last minute. Again, if you wait until the last minute, the site might start. That's a lot of people are going to do that. Site might get slow. You might miss your window. So get your picks earlier in the day. The feeds are going to shut down long before 8 p.m. So make sure you get that stuff in. And it sounds like the site is already down.
Oh my God.
There's lag. There's lag for sure.
So don't worry about that. Like I said, if it's down for now, it will hopefully be back up soon enough, and you'll be able to get your picks in. You don't want to make your buys and sells right now anyway. You want to wait until a little bit later. So that's going to be Thursday at 8 p.m. The trading window will close 8 p.m. Eastern. But I would get your picks in probably like any time after the feeds end, or even just earlier that day. You can always get your picks in as well and then change them until the trading window closes. So that's what you have there. I want to thank again Louis for the badges, Timothy for the site, and Alexandra, who ran that wonderful spreadsheet that you saw and helps submit the ratings into the site. So fun stuff there. And that's what we have for you guys on the Roundtable this week. It's been fun. It's been an interesting week. Mm-hmm. It's been an interesting week. Any final thoughts, Puya?
I'm just stoked. I honestly, and I think that's the thing for me, is that everything is going haywire. Everything could go haywire. The fact of the matter is, I did not think I would get the opportunity to watch the show this season or this summer, look at feeds this summer, talk about it on podcasts this summer, listen to all these podcasts in the summer. It's automatically single-handedly given me so much to look forward to every day that I'm just thankful, not grateful, because we can't say that anymore. I'm thankful and I'm excited. I'm fired up. I'm looking forward to the Stock Watch, getting to use this website because we didn't really get a chance to during Big Brother Canada. Excited for that. And just, just feeling blessed, Taran. Just feeling blessed right now.
Yeah. By the way, Timothy, the guy that runs the site, did message me and said that that he sees that there is a minor bug on the Stock Watch. He's fixing it right now and will try to unlock the site soon. So just keep an eye out for that.
Yes, he's a great guy. Works. He really loves the Stock Watch. Really helps make it work. So everyone, make sure you thank Timothy. As Daquan pointed out as well, I will also be live on Twitch, twitch.tv/Taran Armstrong, Thursdays, probably shortly after the feeds shut down, depending on when that happens. And we'll do a Stock Watch stream where we'll go over different strategies and advice for the Stock Watch and stuff like that. So check that out on Twitch, twitch.tv/Taran Armstrong. Melissa, any final thoughts?
Yeah, like Puya said, I'm very excited that we're here watching Big Brother. It really brings a sense of normalcy to this crazy time. So it's been a really great distraction. And not only that, to get to have All-Stars where the level of gameplay is already great. So I'm very excited to see what happens.
All right, Brent?
I'm good. Just excited. Let's go.
Okay. Thank you guys once more for joining us tonight. I will, of course, be back tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern to update you on everything that happens today, or that happened or will happen today on the Big Brother 22 live feeds. And then it is tomorrow night will be an episode. So there'll be a recap after the episode. And then Thursday, I'll have an update for you, a Stock Watch stream, and a episode recap after the episode on Thursday as well. Plenty of stuff heading your way. Thank you once more for checking us out. You can find me on Twitter at Armstrong Taran. As I said, twitch.tv/Taran Armstrong. Puya is at Puyaism. Anything else you got going on, Puya?
Yes, I am hosting the 90 Day Fiance RHAP Up podcast over on the RHAP Ups Network. It's been an exciting time. It's been fun. And I've been very much enjoying getting to talk both this insane show and talking with a lot of the new class of 2020 people that have been gracious enough to join me. And that's pretty much the only other thing that I've got going on that I have just as much passion for as this.
Here you go. Melissa's at It's Melissa. 3 A's. That's how long 3 A's take to say. What are you up to, Melissa?
This.
There you go.
This is basically it.
And Brent is at One Lucky Gay. Brent, what do you got going on?
This.
There you go. All right, that's what we have for you. Thank you so much once more for joining us, and we'll see you next time.